Hello, everybody. Welcome to the weekly spinner rack. What's that? A right and a left salute? No. You know what? Let's kick that up a notch. You'll get a double salute because I, the host of the show, my name is Chris, respect you. And I will now list every audience member's name. That would take a while. Folks, I'm excited. This is going to be a great show. Not like those trash shows I usually just throw out every week. This one will be one of those rare good ones. We've got a lot of good segments tonight. There's some interesting news to talk about. There's some really great comics and manga to give some mini reviews on. I've got some artwork to work on, but news, reviews, and interviews. That's the rhyming scheme that I like to use, and tonight is no exception. We've got a great guest tonight. This is a cartoonist and a writer whose work I've enjoyed quite a bit. On this very show, you may remember I was really enjoying his series, I Hate This Place. That was a fun one that we all talked about every month that came out. He's done some work on books like Rick and Morty, Sex Castle over at Image. Assassination was a great one. He's really well known for something near and dear to my heart, mixing horror and comedy with a series called Where the Monsters Lie. Folks, please welcome my guest, Mr. Kyle Starks. Kyle, wake up.
Hey, we're here.
You're on.
We're here. We're doing it. Let's go.
How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. We appreciate that.
Happy to do it. We have a mutual friend. My guest last week, Benito Sereno, was like, you know, Kyle has a Kickstarter. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh, not only does he have a Kickstarter, it's for a book that I actually really enjoyed. So yes, this is a great idea to chat. You have a Kickstarter going on.
Yeah. We'll
talk about it. I was interested in just looking at your full bibliography, Kyle. You've done a few crowdfunded campaigns. That was kind of some of your earliest work in comics, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Doing some crowdfunded work.
Yeah, this is my 5th Kickstarter. Kickstarter absolutely started my career in many ways. It made it more than just me goofing around, I guess. I started doing a webcomic called Legend of Ricky Thunder, which I was doing for fun. It's a long origin story I'm not going to do. These guys have all heard it before anyway. And I was just putting it on the web. I wasn't promoting it, and I got discovered by Comics Alliance. And someone was like, oh, you should go to conventions. And I go, oh, why? And they go, that's what people do when they make comics. I go, okay. So I did a Kickstarter because I didn't know what else. Like, might as well do a Kickstarter. And I used all that money to go to shows. And I liked it so much, the combination of the two things. I did another one, which was Sex Castle, which was originally Kickstarter. And Matt Fraction read it and introduced me to Image. And that was pretty cool. That actually started my career. But I had already started Kill Them All, which just came out this year, reprinted. It's third printing technically in hardcover, which I did Kickstarter. So yeah, I've done 4. I did Old Head during the pandemic. That was a bad time. And now we're doing Where Monsters Lie, which is the first one that's not fully me, right? Like, it's not just Kyle Starks doing a book. I've got a whole team I have to pay and be accountable for. So it's kind of weird in that regard. But yeah, Kickstarter's, man, I love Kickstarter. I really do. And I took a long break from it once I started probably Rick and Morty, when I had a regular book, because I was like, well, I don't want to take the spotlight away from other Kyle Starkses who are like trying to. So I love it. I don't know. It's very interesting, and the market's so bad right now. Like, I'm thinking real hard about doing more Kickstarters, if we're gonna be honest.
I mean, there's pros and cons, aren't there? But I mean, you're cutting out a lot of the middleman. I mean, it can be more work for you.
It is more work for me, 100%. Because I have to pack envelopes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm packing envelopes. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're sort of extracting some of that value, like with your hard labor, but that translates into more dollars for you and your team, hopefully, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, normally, I'm careful to say, I think Sex Castle is the only book that has gone from Kickstarter that I've made more money, not counting option stuff, that I've just made more money than I did during the original Kickstarter. I think that's the only one that I've actually surpassed that money. I think I've equaled on Kill Them All, I think. Hey, that is Kyle Starks. That's me.
Yeah, no, just a bunch of folks
We
like
love that.
mentioning certain things that they've
We love that.
enjoyed.
Kind of Merrimack. We love that.
That's awesome. Those Not Afraid. Yeah.
Those Not Afraid. Yeah, it's coming back. Good one.
So
yeah, so I love Kickstarter.
My audience has good taste.
The good direction. Probably, right?
I hope so. With Where the Monsters Lie, I really enjoy its mix of humor and horror, which I think are two things that can go together very well.
Oh yeah.
But if you don't get the mix right, you can undercut the stakes or end up with something bland if neither is too, like I could give examples and stuff like that. But like, how do you approach it in terms of, is it just by feel, or are you doing revisions to say like, hey, this needs to be like, funnier, or this needs to be scarier? What's that look like when you put together a book like this?
It's just what I do. Like that's a terrible, no fun answer.
It's fair.
It used to be before I was doing horror, people would be like, they would say, how do you balance like the emotionality and the humor? And I'm like, I don't know. Like it just is what's right and what's wrong. So it's usually, usually those books, even Where Monsters Lie, I think like it's pretty funny, but usually they start very funny and they get less funny as they go along. Because the funny is really just a trick to make you like the characters more. Where Monsters Lie is pretty funny just by the nature of the monsters. Like they're so pathetic or weird or ding dongy that they sort of keep the joke going. But this is a conversation because we're promoting the Kickstarter. It's live right now. It's Where Monsters Lie Dead In on Kickstarter. Go, so many catch up options. Go get it if you haven't. We'll take care of you.
That's right.
I was born in the late 70s, so I'm kind of an 80s kid, which means like my peak pop culture times were like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and franchise horror movies.
It's what I grew up with too, Kyle.
Yeah. Both of them sprinkled humor in them in a way that was probably more effective than a lot of comedy movies coming out at the time. So I think there's something in me that goes, I just see where those pieces are. And the balance is what benefits the story the most. Like I'm a firm believer that everything that happens should have some value, which is either you're advancing the story, you're saying something about a character, you're setting something up, or it's just a joke. But I rarely like to do just a joke unless it's a character thing that says something more about that character to make them feel more fleshed out. So that's the balance. It's like, when do you do something scary and when do you do something that's funny? And my instincts for Where Monsters Lie, like I don't remember writing any of these. They were so much fun for me to do. I was like, oh, and then they were done. And that's the best for me. Because I am a cartoonist and writing can be very laborious. But when I don't remember the scripts, they're always the best books. They're always the best ones. So I was like, oh, I didn't suffer. It was just everything I felt. Sort of the anecdote that I say is when I hate this place. Like I hate this place. I'm like, it's not going to be funny. It's going to be a straight horror. It's going to be very scary. And of course, it was nominated for best humor publication in the Eisner. So I did a terrible job. But while I was writing that, going, don't be funny, don't be funny. Every place that I was like, oh, this is a good spot for a dick joke, I was like, no. Do something scary. Do something scary. So for that one, I was very actively going, no. Don't put a joke here. Like, put something scary. For Where Monsters Lie, I don't have to do that. Like, if it's the right place.
There is a different tone between these two. I should set that up just in case somebody's read one and not the other. I hate this place. While it is occasionally funny, I felt like more of that humor just came from like normal character interactions and dialogue.
Yeah, just it's charming. I say it's charming is what I say.
And I'll ask you in a second to explain for those who haven't read what the premise of Where Monsters Lie is. I just want to say it opens itself up to satire so that you can actually touch on the cliches and tropes of these genres. But let's explain for the folks that haven't read it before. Sure. What is Where the Monsters Lie?
Yeah, Where Monsters Lie is about a world where all of the sort of franchise slasher monsters are real, and it's about the gated communities that they go to in between their killing sprees. I got the idea for, and it's in the Kickstarter because it's true. I got the idea because I love watching horror movies, and I kind of like watching bad franchise horror movies the most. And I'm watching the Saw movies, and I'm like, that guy didn't dig that syringe pit. You know what I mean? Like
John Kramer is an old man. Like, how's he doing that?
He's too old to dig that pit. And it's like, how did he get all the syringes? Is he like mail order? Someone would notice. He can't get a contractor to build like the thing that rips your face in half if you don't cut off your hand fast enough.
Right.
So I think and then I thought, like, where does Chucky and his girlfriend go? Like, between, like, he doesn't need to eat, but she does. Is he just watching, like, cable TV? Are they in a hotel? Like, all these questions.
What
Of
about
the
all these
logistics.
characters who always like wait a full year for their revenge or
Oh,
only
Rose
attack on a
waiting.
holiday?
Yeah, where do they go? Is
Where do
Jason
they go?
Voorhees just standing in the woods like for a year? Like, I don't know. And the idea of that is like, they have like a support system. They have a place they go to, but when they go there, they still have to they're so quiet. Like, they still have to do like normal people things because they're in these houses that are being provided. They still have to mow their lawns. They still have to take the trash out. And I thought
Yes.
it was so funny because
The mundane.
I love the idea of like insane concepts and the domestication of those. Another thing I was saying, which I think about all the time, I think about the Justice League satellite break
Yeah.
room all
Yeah.
the time because someone's burning popcorn in that Justice League satellite break room. You know what I mean? Someone's eating something stinky. It's
Yeah.
like the most normal places that I love those things. And for
Who has
me,
to
and I
vacuum
love
up
war
the
tropes.
who vacuums the Justice League watchtower?
Yeah,
There's no
no,
way that like trash doesn't end
yeah,
up on the ground.
someone's not washing the coffee mugs on Wednesday. You know what I mean? They're like, Wally,
Absolutely.
it was your turn. What the hell? He's like, who I'm supposed to wash the mugs too? It's like, yeah, Wally, Jesus,
And
wash the
folks,
mugs.
there have been 2 previous volumes of Where the Monsters Lie, a 4-issue story, another 4-issue story. This is the third sort of arc in the Where Monsters Lie. Because you're taking all these different franchise villains, you could have just created a podcast where you talk about the horror movies that you love but make fun of them, right? But
Sure.
there's a million of those. And instead you took that and you said, well, how does this work? Instead of like just saying like, that's stupid. You took it and figured out how it would work.
Yeah, that's the whole job though. If we become obsessed with something, we try to figure it out, and then we try to tell a story with it. And that's another thing. You know, it's like gated community for slasher monsters is great, but if nothing happens, if there's no story, then it doesn't mean anything.
Sure.
So the overarching premise is that a final girl turned secret agent, sort of super monster hunter. I say he's like Batman if Batman's parents were killed by Jason Voorhees. He's just spent his entire life sort of preparing and to fight monsters. They find this gated community, and that's issue 1, and we go from that. There's more than one gated community, and it gets bigger and worse and more familiar tropes. I like it. I like it a lot. I really like Where Monsters Lie.
So you comment and riff on all these genre conventions by making the final girl a final guy, which happens sometimes, but not as often. And then you make him very capable with monster hunting, this guy Connor, and he's kind of terrible at keeping anybody else safe. He's not great at that. So like there's a lot of collateral damage.
Yeah, he's single-minded for sure.
Is on this Kickstarter, you are working with the same artists that you worked with for the first 2 volumes?
Mm-hmm. It's the entire full creative team. It's the same artist, Peter Kowalski, the same colors, Vladimir Popov, and the same letter. Josh Reed's lettering it too. Yeah, I hate this place. Here's the thing, I hate this place. It's so similar because it was also me just playing with tropes, but I was playing with genres as opposed to like hard tropes. So I feel like if you like I Hate This Place, you would like Where Monsters Lie because you're a real horror fan, and we love that. Yeah, it's the same team. Honestly, if it's 2 Polish guys, so they're real cheap. I couldn't afford to have done it probably if it wasn't that team. But also, I wouldn't want like under no like this book is Peter and Vlad's as much as it's mine. Like what Peter brings to it is so next level.
He's great.
He's the. I say that people have caught up, but he's extremely professional. He's the most professional artist. He's fast. He's reliable. He's steady. He's always consistent. He almost never needs notes. And there's something about his aesthetic with this book where he's so good at violence and gore and monsters. And also, look, there it is. That's my Kickstarter. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at us go.
Just thought I'd show some imagery while you were talking.
Yeah, we love that. Yeah, Peter's the best. He's great for this. And we're doing, Peter and I are doing another book that comes out in November with Dark Horse called Devil on My Shoulder, which is even less funny than this. It's not funny at all. It's a real bloody revenge. So hey, tell your story. You want that. FOC is October something. It's good. If you like bloody revenges, if you like horror, like hard horror, we're doing it. Real violence,
Okay.
sort of Crow meets Kill Bill.
What's it called? Again?
Devil on My Shoulder.
Devil on My Shoulder.
Yeah.
You've already hit your minimum goal. You set a very, sort of like low, achievable, totally reasonable goal, which is great. What are you doing for like I was trying to find like stretch goals here.
I need to put more.
What are we close to? We're close to this signature upgrade. Folks, we can push this up to the 20,000 to get the story upgrade, right?
Yeah.
Look at that story upgrade. We'll add an epilogue to the comic.
I'd love to do an epilogue.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. I think that's definitely doable because if I scroll back up, folks, we're already at 16 with 19 days to go. That's a lot of time. This is definitely a book that I sincerely recommend. I've enjoyed it. Daniel Dawson, I mean, what a great Jason Voorhees stand-in. Was Fuckmaster based on anything in particular? Because he's very unique.
So some of them, him and I think notably like Mr. Wrinkly, he's right there. Aren't based on anything. They were just mine. They were just like I wanted to make something creepy and that felt like I want to play too, Chris. I want to play too.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Here's like you. The thing that's great about horror is that it has these tropes. Like you say, Daniel Dawson's Jason Voorhees, but he's also Michael Myers. He's also Leatherface.
Oh yeah.
Like, the sort of unkillable shape. So it's like you have to have an unkillable shape. Pack Rat's just like serial killer. You know what I mean? Like Saint.
Well, yeah. When I
American
first
Psycho
read it, Kyle,
killer.
I wondered, like, Pack Rat and St. Julian are sort of both serial killers, but then again, you've got like Daniel Dawson and you have what if sort of a Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees-esque shape came up against another shape, a la Leatherface, and you play that idea out. Vilmos is sort of a Freddy Krueger riff.
That's what I was thinking.
There's great.
Like, that specifically, that sort of like Jason Voorhees versus Leatherface, which is not what it is. I mean, you just know these characters because horror is so good about. Like one of the great things about horror is it has these built-in tropes and these familiar sort of archetypes. And I love the shorthand of that. I love the shorthand where someone goes, "Oh, I see what's happening. I'm interested in Leatherface fighting Jason Voorhees. I want to know who's going to win." But it's not them. It's clearly not them. It's just another version. I love the shorthand of archetypes.
Oh yeah,
I play with tropes and everything. Like I love tropes.
Well, and I love that. I'll just say this too: you don't lean too heavily in doing a 1-for-1.
Yeah.
So some of these are like you just get the gist of like, oh, horror has many subgenres. If you're a real horror fan, you know that it just has lots and lots of subgenres, and that's a lot to play with as a concept.
It's got the genres, it's got the tropes. I love horror. Like there's just so many things to it, and you can not like some of it. No one doesn't like most of it. You know what I mean? No one's ever like, well, I like horror, but I only like body horror. That's the only one I watch. Like no one ever says that,
Right. What about when you're writing something like with an expansive cast like this?
Yeah.
You're going to kill a lot of people. You're going to kill a lot of like both villains and, heroes for lack of a better term right now. How do you sort of, do you have empathy for any of these characters? Are any of these characters one that you're like, I really want this character to survive, whether the story calls for it or not?
Well, I don't have empathy for any of them, which is kind of the point of another thing that I was very interested in at the time, which is like, which is why it's called Where Monsters Lie. But like, what is truly evil here? Because there's these guys who are doing their lawn and it seemed pretty normal, but like they also probably have killed like hundreds of people. Or is it the super cop who shows up and then proceeds to kill them? Like, is that evil? I don't know. He's murdering people. I thought it was this very interesting sort of balance of like, I don't. And if I do, I think it's clear in volume 1. I don't do any spoilers. Like certain characters.
I know.
Yeah. But it's not very many. And some it's like I'll say this. Volume 3, I had to make choices, but I had a plan, and it was hard choices. Of like who will make it and who will not. I'll say Professor Puzzleman, I think is one of the best characters I've ever done. Look,
that's how I was reading it in my head, but that is how it said, right? Puzzleman,
Puzzleman,
right? I was like, because you made a point in issue 1 or 2
Yeah,
of
yeah,
spelling out that like someone said, wait, it's not Puzzle Man with a space. And I was
yeah,
like, but I'm only reading it. And I go, I think he means to say that
yeah,
his name is Professor Puzzleman.
yeah. The police think that he is a puzzle themed serial killer called Puzzle Man, but
Yeah.
his name is Professor Puzzleman. That's the joke. It's stupid.
He's not awesome at his tracks, I
No,
will say.
he's not good at anything. But,
But
I love him because he's very human. Like he's very
yes.
human. He just has
Yes.
the worst job that he loves. So
And it speaks to how there's sort of declining feel to a lot of these franchises. Like you've only got 2 or 3 great ideas with a theme. Like if it's like a holiday killer, how many times can you do that? I don't know.
6 times a year, easy.
To that. Anyway.
Yeah, that's that's in volume 2 because they're like you have to give the holiday killer, and it's like I got a plan for these things. He's like I'm not like the scary clown. Like he can do that all year round. Like I have to have there's effort that goes into this. I have to do thinking, and they're like no, we need you to get to work.
I love that this guy was like put onto a challenge of coming up with either like an Arbor Day or a Mother's Day like theme, and he had to like figure out a way to turn that into a good set of kills.
I love it. There's also with that character, there's a real treatise about working in like the creative industries. Like I'm really sort of voicing some frustrations of mine through Ray the Holiday Killer.
Oh,
that's interesting.
Anyway. Folks, hopefully these teases just interest you because like I'd love to talk about it more, but I think that both comedy and horror both benefit especially the less you know going in. If it's an action movie, you see a trailer, you're like, okay, I'll probably enjoy that. With a horror, you can over-explain. With a comedy, you can give away your best jokes. And I'm trying to be careful and walk this line. But supposing this does well, which it is. What I'm asking is, supposing, like this really exceeds your goals. Yeah. Do you think that there's still more to say in this world, or is this the finale?
Here's the thing about a horror franchise: is they never really have to end.
That's fair.
But when I did volume 1, I sort of knew the ending would be a cliffhanger teaser. You never know in present day comics if you're going to get more than one opportunity. So I like to leave a little teaser because I like to think about these characters. I like to think they continue to exist. And I got to add these other 2 prints here. I'm glad you showed me this because I don't scroll that far down. We have those 2 prints. They're very good.
Oh yeah, Jesse Lonergan. I just talked about him last week. He did an incredible Godzilla story. I love Faster.
Faster than Drome. All this Jesse Lonergan's amazing. He's a good friend of mine.
Look at
here's what I'm saying. So I did volume 1, but I think about that one story, right?
Yeah.
And it since it sold out, it did so well. They're like, you want to do more? And Peter's like, I'd like to do more. I was like, oh, it's very popular. Clearly, it's very popular. I'm like, I bet I could do 2 more. And so I sort of planned the next 2. And my joke has always been, and so in volume 1, we go to side A, we go to the main gated community for slasher villains. In the second one, you find side B and also side C. Side C is where all of the cannibal hillbillies live. So we know there's a world of these gay communities, and I wanted to do, if we did a volume 3, which now we're doing through Kickstarter, but it's not 4 issues, it's truncated. I was like, I want them to go to hell, and I want them to go to Japan, because Japan monsters hit different, and I want to play with that world too. And I joked, because if it's really popular, I'm going to do a 4th one where they go to space, because I think that's like the hilarious sort of last jump the shark moment for these franchises. So here's the thing. I've been asked this a couple of times, like, what is the number in which we would do another one?
Okay.
And I don't know what that is.
All right.
I would say at 30, me and Peter will have a
okay. But okay.
It also depends.
Yeah.
If there's not an idea, it's not necessary. But here's the thing. I sort of end everything, but again, it's a horror movie. So if we get to 20, I get to add that epilogue will be a seed. You know what I mean? It'll be a seed of some kind. So
yeah, I think that well, I mean, because you are dealing with a lot of ideas that come from franchises, not exclusively, but a lot of them. And you're right. Like a lot of them, when they start running out of ideas, from Hellraiser to Leprechaun to Jason, they've all gone to space.
Yes.
Michael Myers was going to go to space in one movie. That didn't happen. Not that it really helped the franchise when it, but you've always got elevated horror to turn to at this point. You know, like some of the classier stuff. Maybe the smarter people.
There's other stuff out there. I'm probably not the one for that.
There's always something new. There's always something.
I'm probably not the guy for that. But I'd like to. I mean, if we're looking big picture, the bigger question is that it was so much easier for me to do this 48-page comic on Kickstarter with Peter. Like, do we talk about doing another Kickstarter? Another 48-page Kickstarter, because he's so fast. We're both so fast, and it's like you're talking about 2 months of work for him. It's viable, but and we kind of briefly started to talk about this before. It's the pros and cons. Well, we started at the beginning. The pros and cons. Like, one of the cons for me is, for better or for worse, I make comics in the direct market. I want to be in stores. I want to be in the direct market, and Kickstarter doesn't necessarily play nice with that. And so it's a thing. It's like, would I make more money doing a 48-page Kickstarter with Peter than I would doing a? Yes, I would. I probably would. So why would I not do that? I like being in a catalog. I like being in stores. I like a larger community talking about the work. Yeah. So
absolutely. Somebody else handling all the logistics too. Yeah,
but you know what? I've done 5 of them, or this will be my 5th one. The logistics are. I'm not selling so many. Like, if this did 75,000, I'd be in huge trouble. But also, I could afford someone.
Challenge.
I could afford to have someone help me out. You know what I mean? Like, I could afford for someone else to do the work then.
Yes.
I like stuffing the envelopes. Like, I have a thermal printer, and I use Pirate Ship. It's easy. Like, all that stuff's easy. And I have teenage daughters and my wife, and we sit and we make a night of it. So it's kind of nice. Like, it's kind of pleasant to do all that fulfillment stuff.
It's awesome.
It's all the hard work for a Kickstarter is kind of before you hit go, and like the middle parts where it's slow and boring and you feel like you're failing. Otherwise, Kickstarter is like, it's kind of great. I get to see the names of everyone who supported my book. Whereas,
cool.
Yeah, where like there'll be people like, hey, how did Peacemaker do? I go, I don't know. I don't even know what the numbers are. Like, no one told me. I definitely don't know the names of every person who bought it. I'm not sending something to their house. They're not buying Peacemaker from me and also getting a sticker or whatever other nonsense I throw in to make it more enticing. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
It's like, I like Kickstarter, but I like the direct market. Like, it feels like that's where the industry is. But I also think that's changing. That's an entirely different conversation.
It's one that we should definitely have a long conversation about. I agree.
It's both my favorite and least favorite conversation to have.
I get it. I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's so many questions. Where are things going? Hard to say. Yeah. But in the here and now, you've got this campaign. I've got a link, folks, in the description below. I encourage you to check it out. I'll be supporting it for whatever that's worth. And, you were just talking about, how you've got through this a connection a little bit more with your audience. Where else can they look for updates if they enjoy this and they want to hear what other comics you've got coming up?
Yeah, I'm told it seems like social media is dying, but I am at the Kyle Starks on, I think, all of them. I do have a Patreon Kyle Starks. We do a $5 sticker club every month where I do update stuff on projects I'm working on. It's easier when I'm drawing things and when I'm writing things, because what do you post when you but that's where I do most of my like very personal interactions. We do Google Hangouts somehow, and we do polls.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool. I have a bunch of people who've been doing it for a long time. It's $5. You get 2 stickers, and you get to hear me jabber about things, and you get to. Patreon's great because you get to directly connect. I'm on TikTok now. I'm dragging my feet because of the Kickstarter. It's really taking a lot of my energy. But we're always trying to find the ways. I think in many ways it was easier when I did my first one, which I think was 9 years ago at this point, right? Because there's only 2 forums. There's Twitter and Facebook, and that was it. And Twitter was a different beast then, and we were actively looking to support each other. We enjoyed talking about comics. There's a community. There's not really that community. Yeah. There's no place where it is anymore. There's just no place.
Like, in fact, as far as that community, I feel that I get the community aspect from Blue Sky, but there's not as big an audience. So sometimes it's a little bit of an echo chamber, but it's friendlier and it's more art friendly. Then sometimes you have to use the big corporate tools like Instagram and TikTok and stuff to put your word out. But, hopefully the occasional podcast or show like this can help as well.
Yeah.
I wish you continued success, Kyle.
Thanks, man.
Hopefully I get to bump into you at a Comic-Con sometime soon.
We'll do this again. This was fun. We like this.
Very nice. I appreciate you taking the time to focus in on just this one project. Give us some ideas about it. Thank you for your time tonight. Have a good evening.
Have me back anytime. Hey, thanks. Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow. Kyle was awesome. I'd met him briefly at a convention once before and bought some of his comics. He was super nice, but that was actually fun for me. I suspect we like a lot of the same stuff. Where Monsters Lie, folks, a really fantastic fusion of comedy and horror. I didn't want to interrupt him while he was talking, but when I was reading volume 1, I have a distinct memory. I was reading it in bed. My wife was asleep already, and I'm reading this comic in bed, and I kept having to stifle my laughs because I would laugh out loud at certain lines. That's kind of rare in and of itself, but I'm going like trying not to wake her up. Like very clear memory for me. So for whatever that's worth. Hey, a super chat here from Larry. Let's see. Save this for after the interview. Done. Shout out to Dan Kennedy, aka Electric Dan, who turned me onto your channels and just officially advanced in his Wing Chun progression. Much love, Chris. Also, have you seen Eddington yet? I haven't, and I would like to. I've liked that director's movies. That's Ari Aster, right? I think it's Ari Aster. Really like that. Thank you for the support. Really, really nice of you. Yeah, I really, really liked it. So anyway, that was fun. That was very fun. Thanks all for being polite and listening and commenting. I think this is as good a time as any to get into the news of the week, right? Yeah.
We're sitting on top of the story of the century here.
Put an ad on the front page. Cash money for a picture of Spider-Man. He doesn't want to be famous, and I'll make him infamous.
Hi guys, this is April O'Neil from Channel 6 News, and I am here in beautiful New York City.
Boo-doo-doot. All right. Classic Chris thumbnail. You know, I heard from somebody that I should work on making my thumbnails have some more consistency so that people know that it's either comic tropes or, in this case, comic tropes after dark. And I thought about it and I was like, that's actually really smart. So smart that it's like, I really should be doing a better job. So, because I looked at the views for the last 2 episodes and they were kind of a little lower than what I would consider normal. And I go, I wonder if there's anything I did differently. And I go, well, I didn't put myself in the thumbnail. So maybe that's a little bit of my branding there. It's interesting, these things to think about. All right, let's see. Clean, fun comic book goodness. Always enjoyable. Never disappointing. Never? I've never disappointed. There's some ex-girlfriends you should talk to. No, I'm just kidding. No complaints there, all right? That was self-deprecating humor. Thanks for putting together this wonderful show. Thanks for being you. Dude, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. We are going to get into some wild news. Oh, but hold on. There's another super chat. What can I do? I have to respect the medium. Thank you, Larry. Let's see. Ari Aster's final film with a first film with a real world setting. I was like, that didn't make sense. I wasn't reading right. And is most terrifying? It mocks both sides equally. Pretty brilliant. I recommend it. Whoo, now I feel like I'm missing out that I haven't seen it yet. Tell you what, when I'm drawing towards the end of the show, like the cool down period, we'll talk about like movies and stuff like that. I'll keep going for, yeah, I'll just put Mr. Beast in the title. Right? Isn't that what Jimmy does? I don't know. Then he brightens his teeth and makes it all look artificial. Let's talk about a new Robert Crumb comic. That's not an everyday thing, especially in the last 20 years. But yeah, at age 81, I would like to point out, Robert Crumb still making comics. New anthology of his work, new comics coming out through Fantagraphics this November. These are new comics that we haven't read before that he's still writing and drawing. Oh, hold on. Thank you, Rob. Missed your birthday. Happy belated 50th. It's true. I did turn 50 this year. Everyone buy him some belated birthday Diet Mountain Dew. I appreciate that. Yeah. I didn't do anything special for it. I just went to work and worked on my birthday, but it's a big number. But I don't feel it. I feel younger, at least up here. All right. Going back to talking about Robert Crumb. He has been slower with comics lately. He did Book of Genesis in 2009. He did that Drawn Together art book along with his late wife, Eileen, in 2012, Drawn Together. Great title, by the way. If you don't know, Robert Crumb is, if he's not the underground comics guy, he's at least among them. You know, I mean, something like Zap, that really kickstarted what we think of as the underground comics movement. Did a lot of tremendously important work. My personal favorite was when he would illustrate Harvey Pekkar's real life stories in American Splendor. That's my personal stuff, as I liked Harvey's writing with Robert's art. But, you know, I mean, he created Mr. Natural and stuff like that. So super, super important character. No question. Hi to the Comic Tropes Master and friends. I can't stay, but wanted to say hello. Dave, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Holy moly. $1 for each year I turned. All right. So now I have to pause. Okay. I have to pause to say I had a weird first grade teacher, folks. I'm going to tell you a story and then I'll come back to the news. All right. So she was terrible, by the way. She should have retired like 10 years before I got in her class. Mrs. Gillingham was her name. And that's only fair to say because there is zero chance she is still alive. And you can't libel the dead. So that's nice. She was terrible. She was really, really bad. She would spank you for your birthday in front of the whole class. When it was your birthday, you had to get up in front of the class. She gave you one spank for each year you turned and one for good luck. That wasn't fun. I didn't love that. She would sometimes come around to our first grade. Keep in mind, we're little kids. We have like those desks where you lift the top, the flat panel, and underneath are your pencils and books or whatever. Sometimes she'd just open them. And if she felt that it was dirty, she'd flip the whole thing over in front of everybody and yell, "Pick it up." Who does that to first graders? It's hot out, drinking ice cold, sugar-free Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Look at that ad. Oh, look at, yeah, you people are like, what? But like I say, folks, I'm 50, so it was a different time, okay? It was a different time. Teachers could hit you in school, and like parents would be like, well, I don't love that, but you know, whatever. No, she didn't spank me this year. I'm positive she had to have died like 30 years ago. No offense to anybody. She was old when anyway. Thank you. All right, I got to get back to the news because that was fun for me, but I just wanted to tell a story. All right, so new Robert Crumb comic coming out. He hasn't drawn many in the last few years, but he's 81. Fantagraphics says that this will include, quote, memoir, essay, polemic, neurosis, and conspiracy across 12 short stories, including, this is worth noting, the final Dirty Laundry story drawn by Crumb from a script written by Eileen Kaminsky Crumb before her death in 2022. That's beautiful. That's for anyone that's a big fan, I'm sure that we would love to see that. And it's nice to think that Eileen is getting a story out posthumously. So yeah, very cool, and pretty important for indie comics history. Definitely a creator that I will do an episode about on Comic Tropes at some point. Take on Robert has vacillated over the years. But no matter what, he's super important to the medium, and I like him as an artist. I think sometimes he's done some stuff that crosses boundaries of what is acceptable, but I also have to place that within the context of when it was created versus how we're judging it in retrospect. So there's some big things to talk about there. It's so challenging that I keep putting it off. But someday I'll do a Robert Crumb episode for sure, and probably sooner than later. All right. How about this? An Alex Toth Deluxe Edition, another really important creator, and one that I think flies under the radar a lot these days. But you know, an artist's artist. That's a great point to say that the documentary, Crumb, great documentary. Great. Yes. All right. So, to the side, this is a placeholder image of something else DC did with Alex Toth, but Penguin Random House announces upcoming books. So this isn't an official press release by DC, but this is obviously the information they gave Penguin Random House so that they could solicit it. Penguin Random House said that there's a 200-page Alex Toth compendium that's coming out 1 year from now, July 14th, 2026, $49.99. Hopefully that price holds at, where we are from a year from now. It's said to include over 30 of his stories at DC from the 40s all the way through the 90s. There are some really amazing stories within there. I think a lot of people have probably seen he's got a great Black Canary story, but he's got some other really great Batman and Superman stories from sort of the Silver Age. Boy, some really good ones, folks. I'm excited about this. This is definitely a stories, they say, come from comics like Detective Comics, House of Mystery, The Witching Hour, Our Army at War, Adventure Comics, and more. So I just wanted to put that on people's radar. Should be really cool. And what did I just see? It was huge in my little corner of blue sky. Thank you. Oh man, I have been looking for any of those Hot Wheels comics that he illustrated for ages. That's sort of a rare white whale of a comic, folks. Alex Toth did a licensed Hot Wheels comic, small print run, so it's harder to find. I want to find that someday. Boy, I thought that there was a comment in here that I wanted to touch on. Oh yeah, Andy Brining. Why does that Superman have a Kurt Swan face? Let me look at it a little more closely. And you know what? That is a really good observation, Andy, because now that I look at it, I agree. I don't think that was necessarily done by Toth. It's just got it's got a different style to it. That must have been redrawn. I mean, I can't say with absolute authority, plus I'm sort of coming across your opinion here, but I agree. I don't think that's an Alex Toth face. Wow. Anyway, great creator. Oh, look, another super chat. Thank you. As a real Fantastic Four comic fan, specifically that of Kirby, Lee, Byrne, Hickman, love those choices. How do you feel about the latest Fantastic Four flip bombing? I, for one, feel fantastic. Well, I like the movie quite a bit, first of all. Quite a bit. Good chance it'll be in my top 5 movies for this year. Movies like Sinners and Weapons will be ahead of it, but I like Fantastic Four. Is it? I guess it's probably bombing, but I also think that we need to reframe what we expect out of these movies, because for a little while there, anything Marvel did would be like about $1 billion. You know, when Captain Marvel and Black Panther could earn $1 billion, it was like, wow. And then the pandemic came and movie going slowed down. All that needs to really be adjusted, in my opinion, well, they can work on their quality, that's for sure. But Marvel needs to use more reasonable budgets. If you go back to the first Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, much more modest budgets, still very good movies. They're going too big. They're just going too big. I would not call it bombing, though. I think it probably will turn a literal profit, just to be clear. I really do. I don't think it's that bad. I think that we are in an era where we need to reframe what we expect out of movies. It's a good movie, in my opinion. So at least it came out. The characters will show up again. Yeah. Right. It's not quite doing the projected numbers, but it has too big a budget and too big expectations. But it's not a bad movie, and it's not bombing. Bombing used to literally mean, you had a $20 million budget and you made $3 million. This is like, it's just not making a humongous profit. But anyway. All right, let's move on with news. Let's talk about what I put in the thumbnail. I found this fascinating, although this is technically stuff we knew a year ago. So let me talk about Rob Liefeld trying to sell his art for quite a pretty penny. So last August, go back 1 year, Heritage Auctions listed this right here, the original Rob Liefeld art for the cover to New Mutants number 98. Pretty famous, Deadpool, of course, and everybody's favorite, Gideon. Nobody remembers Gideon. The starting bid was going to be $7.5 million, which would easily make it the most money that was ever spent on original comic book art. But to be clear, let me go into some details. Heritage Auctions in the listing said that the owner approached them feeling that it was the right time with the release then of Deadpool and Wolverine. And they also said it hadn't been sold or exchanged hands in a sale in 20 years. Okay. So who's selling it? Well, this week, Liefeld shared this story to social media. That's why we're talking about it now. He shared this to social media this week, and he said, anyone got a spare $7.5 million they can share? Oh, okay. So wait a minute. That made me look at this a little more closely. And as far as I know, this flew under the radar last year. But if you look at the original Heritage Auction posts, they have a reply underneath talking about the auction, giving details and context. And in that follow-up reply, they do say that the time is right, says Liefeld. So they were upfront that it was actually Liefeld, but they sort of buried that the lead down below. So he was trying to cash in. I don't blame him. And it's probably worth quite a bit. No matter what you think about Liefeld, this piece is definitely worth quite a bit. Sorry, the light's acting weird. But $7.5 million? Come on. That's a little crazy. Considering what it is. That's all. Nobody is buying for that price. Yeah. That said, if a piece of art is going to go for millions, I would want the actual artist to be able to get that as compared to having sold it and then like somebody down the road cashes in. What do I think it could have sold if the bids naturally built up? That is something I was thinking about. And I would say for this piece, I would go as high as 4-point-something million. I don't think it would quite hit 5, but I do think it's potentially with bidding something that could go for over 4 because of who's in it. Cable, Deadpool, and Liefeld. I do think it's important historically. It is a cover. That's just my thinking. But who knows? Yeah, I was so close. I was going to bid, but I only had $7.4 million. And I was like, well, I could either get a lot of cheeseburgers or I could get borrow some money. And I was like, no, I'll get the cheeseburgers. You did win the Oregon lottery. Congratulations. And Gideon. Everybody historically loves Gideon and the very ideal of immortal mutants known as externals. We all remember that, right? All he had to do was jump forward about 30 some years and all of the mutants became immortal. Oh, see, no, I'm not saying what it's worth. I'm saying what it really would go for, because there are definitely pieces that have gone for several million that just have key characters. And I do think it could go for a few million. I'm not saying that that's what I would want to pay at all or what it is worth. I'm just saying what I think it realistically would go for if it was bidding from the low end. I don't know. What else we got for news? We got cool stuff. Ronin is joining the Ultimate Universe. which is worth talking about. I'll explain. But let me acknowledge that Steve Sorensen is supporting me. Think of all the sugar-free Mountain Dew Baja Blast that I could get for $7.5 million. Yeah, I mean, that's like 3 million cans of Mountain Dew, right? That's some good math that I got going on. All right. So the Ultimate Universe of Hawkeye is getting a one-shot comic. And here's where you should start getting excited, folks, because the Black Eyed Peas are involved. Specifically, this will be co-written by Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas, coming out September 24th. That's right. What, you thought Will.i.am was the only Black Eyed Peas member that was going to be connected to the Marvel Universe because he famously played Wraith in X-Men Origins Wolverine? Nah. Taboo's getting in on that action. Taboo is writing Ultimate Hawkeye. That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted. Okay. Hi, sister. See? Yeah. Somebody thought that. Okay. Most of the reactions are a little different, but that's okay. So let's talk about this a little, though. Well, jumped way forward. So it's co-written by Taboo and B. Earl. Art by, and I don't know how to pronounce this, but this is how it's always written, Michael Sta Maria. I don't know what this stands for. I'm sorry. Anyway, it features a framing story by Dennis Camp and Juan Frigeri. They're the team that does The Ultimates, which Hawkeye is a member of. The one-shot will send Hawkeye up against Exterminatrix. That's a villain who made her debut in Ultimates number 14. Press release from the publisher states, in the ongoing quest to take down Roxxon, the company who ravaged their community, Hawkeye will go undercover into Exterminatrix's twisted world where they'll witness the darkest depths of what Earth 6160, the Ultimate Universe, has to offer. In order to escape the madness, Hawkeye will have to confront a formidable opponent who they share an eerie connection with, the all-new Ultimate Ronin. So let's get into this. Why would that be important? Because in the comics, Ronin is an identity that's been shared by existing superheroes, probably most famously Daredevil, but Ronin in the movies obviously was Hawkeye, Clint Barton. Well, in this Ultimate Universe, all the superheroes that should have existed were prevented from getting their origin story by this supervillain who went through time and manipulated the universe, okay? And so later in life, when these heroes were offered the opportunity for, like, Spider-Man is one of those rare cases where he accepted the powers he was supposed to get, but as an adult. A lot of other characters, some of them accepted it. A lot of them just sort of walked away or were dead, for instance. In the Ultimates, we were shown that Clint Barton was given the option to have his high-tech bow and arrow gear, and he walked away from it. And this new character, Charlie, they took that stuff and used it as, on a crusade against Roxxon. But that means that if there's a Ronin in the Ultimate Universe, that could be a villainous version of Clint Barton. That could be. So that could be cool. I don't know. Clint did choose not to be a hero, but keep in mind, many, many years later than where, and also beyond the fact that he was offered his abilities way later, in the comics, Clint Barton did start as a villain. So maybe we're seeing a little bit of that take place in this Ultimate Hawkeye one-shot. I think it's an interesting idea, but of course, like all of you, I'm most excited to have the Black Eyed Peas involved. And I can only hope and pray that Fergie takes over writing the Fantastic Four years from now when Ryan North decides to step down. Fingers crossed that that's what happens. Moving forward. Palmiotti is going to write a second Punisher book. Okay, I'm listening. So previously, and I've talked about this on the news, Marvel announced that the Marvel Knights co-founder Jimmy Palmiotti was returning to write a Punisher story set in their The World to Come future, which is basically just designed to follow up on the legacy of the Marvel Knights imprint from 25 years ago. That one is set in the future, drawn by Dan Panosian, written by Jimmy Palmiotti. But this week, Marvel announced Palmiotti's also writing a 5-part crossover with Daredevil, set in the current continuity. And for that, we've got Daredevil Punisher, the Devil's Trigger. Is that a phrase? I've never heard that. The Devil's Trigger. I don't know. It goes on sale November 26th, art by Tommaso Bianchi, and the story is going to feature Punisher going after the Nucci crime family. That was the crime family introduced in the Marvel Knights version of the Punisher that was by Ennis and Steve Dillon, the late, great Steve Dillon. Dude, so I am so excited for that as well. Dan Panosian drawing Punisher. Hell yeah. Totally up. You like the idea of a team-up book? Devil's Doorbell actually sounds nice because it's got that alliteration. I'll go for the Devil's Doorbell. Yeah, the crime family from Welcome Back, Frank. You know, they've been known to sort of shoot and stab each other to prevent one another from doing things the way they do. The Devil's Dandruff. Okay, yep, we're running low on ideas, but sure. All I can say is Jimmy Palmiotti, really good writer, so could be cool. Yep. The first and probably not last Jim Mafood reference of the evening comes with Spider-Punk getting a movie. I know that Jim, my co-host on this channel of Trash Movie Bonanza, has drawn some Spider-Punk covers. If I'm remembering correctly, I believe he also did some design work for the animated movies. I should have double-checked on that before I went live, but I'm pretty sure he did. All right, so this comes from Variety, and they reported Spider-Punk. It's a spinoff of 2023's animated Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse movie. Sorry, just something fell down upstairs. Surprised me. It's in early development at Sony Pictures Animation. Hey, Jimmy Jams is here. He doesn't always watch the show, but he does have one power, and that's when I mention his name. Not anybody, but when I mention his name, he appears. I abuse it constantly. He's like, huh? Is that my name I hear? No, I'm just giving you a hard time, Jim. Yeah, so Spider-Punk. And later tonight, I'm going to try to draw Jim's character, Arachnid Enforcer, which you can sign up on Kickstarter's Notify Me page. That's going to be Jim's next self-published satirical book. So yeah, Spider-Punk. That's actually Hobie Brown as Spider-Man. Hobie Brown in the main Spider-Man continuity becomes Prowler. But in this, he's Spider-Punk. Let's see. Look at this. It goes further than being a spinoff. Daniel, and I'm going to mispronounce his name probably, but Kaluuya, I think it's pronounced Kaluuya. He voiced the character in the movie. He's actually co-writing and developing this movie version with a guy named Ajan Singh. That's cool. Spider-Punk is cool. I like the idea of something like this with less history and baggage. Go nuts. I'm more excited about an idea like this than I am when Sony has tried to do Madam Web, Craven, said that they were going to do like a Hypno Hustler movie. You know, it's like, where are you guys going with all these? This is what you want to see. This or Venom, something like that. No, it's going to be animated. It's going to be animated. So it's really early. There's not like, when's it coming out? No timeline. This is super early. But keep in mind that the final Spider-Verse movie in the trilogy is scheduled for June 25th, 2027. So this would be after that. I love plugging you, Jim. Wait a minute. Set myself up for that one. What can I say? I will say that out of the terrible Sony Spider-Verse movies, Madam Web is a unique kind of bad. It is an entertaining bad. It moves with alarming alacrity and stunning stupidity. How did that just tumble out of my mouth? That little bit of word salad. But anyway. Spider-Punk has never defeated anyone with the crisp, refreshing taste of Pepsi Cola products and associated Lay's overarching brand snacks like Madam Web. True, but he does seem like the kind of guy that could use an abandoned fireworks factory under a Pepsi sign to defeat his villains. Hey, baby, I hear them blues are calling. Toss salads and scrambled eggs. Mercy. All right. The Revenants has been optioned for TV, but I will forgive you if you don't know what the Revenants are. I'll explain. It's an indie Irish comic book. Yeah, it's been optioned for live action TV by a UK production company called Atelier 11. The Revenants was created by Daniel Flanagan back in 2015. He's made several follow-up volumes. It's published through the comic book store that his family runs in Belfast. It's called Comic Book Guys. It's set in a version of the Northern Ireland capital, Belfast, that has been overrun by the undead, with the Flanagan brothers forced to use whatever's lying around their store to fight off the supernatural threats. They had one great title, too, for a follow-up volume. The Revenants Escape from New York, Comic-Con. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. The bear does draw attention. The bear does draw attention. When there's a logo on it, a little less so. Now, I wouldn't expect everybody to know the Revenants, but it's a funny idea. I think it's cool when somebody working at a comic book store makes a story that's also set within that store. That's pretty good. As long as I'm talking about adaptations of comics into movies, this also happened this week. The Leading Man got some really big stars attached to it this week. So Deadline reports that Netflix is going to be adapting The Leading Man, and that's an action comedy based on the comic book that came out from B. Clay Moore and Jeremy Hahn. The movie is going to star and be produced by Kevin Hart and John Cena. Boo-doo-doo-doo. And that's why I put this big image of John Cena right here for you to look at. It's a joke. The official logline reads, when a self-absorbed movie star, played by John Cena, discovers that his co-star / man in the chair, Kevin Hart, is an actual agent, he's forced to swallow his pride and accept that action stars aren't really action heroes while trying to save the world. Could be fun. Could be a lot of fun. Good luck. Story is an action comedy for sure. For sure. Good luck. I hope that B. Claymore and Jeremy Hahn get paid. I don't think he had a falling out. I think that he's made like 3 movies with The Rock, at least. Maybe he's made 4. Let me think for a minute. There was the one where they were like high school students together, and then The Rock becomes a CIA agent. I can't remember what that one's called. Kevin Hart is in Hobbs and Shaw with The Rock. They're both in Jumanji 1 and 2. So that is 4. That's at least 4. Anyway. It is a little similar in some ways. But no, it's a good comic. It's a good comic. So I hope it gets some attention to the comic itself. It was originally a 5-issue series, was published by Oni back in 2006. So that shows you how long some of these things take to develop. My Daughter is a Zombie is a pretty big hit, apparently. So this is a Korean movie, and it's already, this week, earned $23 million worldwide off of a production budget just under $8 million. These are estimates because I had to translate Korean won into US dollars. But yeah. Anyway, I did see in a news article about it that it recovered its production costs within 8 days of its release. So did very well. And it's out here in the States. If you want to see it, there are movie theaters that currently have this. Why am I talking about this movie? Because it's based on a webtoon that ran from 2018 to 2020 by Yun Chang Lee. As far as the premise the comedy film follows a father taking his infected daughter to live with his mother in the countryside, and he has to use his years of being a tiger tamer to keep everyone safe. And apparently she shows signs of remembering her previous life and liking music and dance and stuff like that. So, man, Korea has just turned on that tap of taking these webtoons and translating them into hit movies and TV shows. That is something. Was it? I never saw Maggie. Was that a good movie? I don't know. But I wanted to put it on people's radar. If you have or have not read the webtoon, it is in theaters right now. I agree. That's a pretty funny little idea. All right. As long as I'm talking about Korea, they are giving a tax break to those creating comics. I'll go into specifics. South Korea's government announced tax changes to help develop webtoons, which have become a huge part of their economy. Tax credits are going to be offered to all eligible content considered webtoons or Korean digital comics they've got their own definition, and it's described as Korea's Promotion of Comics Act. Okay. For all large companies, a 10% tax credit will cover any expenses that include planning and production, labor costs, licensing fees for intellectual properties, and software costs required for webtoon creation. And a 15% tax credit will cover the same areas for any smaller or medium-sized companies. So even better tax credit. That's interesting. Just seeing a government so proactively say, this is doing gangbusters for our economy. Here's a way to hopefully help cover some costs and make it better. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. Why don't you do that, America? Because we don't need to, I guess. But yeah, I would love it if we did something like this. Okay, Mango Do has a different opinion. This is actually not excellent, I think. That money is going to webtoon producers, editors, and the artists are still making almost slave wages. Hopefully this changes that, but I don't have high hopes. I agree with you that they're specifically giving these tax credits to companies, but it does call out that some of that goes to labor costs. And I have to imagine that that's basically what they're lumping the pay for creators in. If you can make this more profitable, then there's more money to pay the artists. Now, of course, an individual company is going to want to maximize its own profits instead of paying an artist more. However, there's competition, and that's what's good here. There are at least 3 really big producers of webtoons. And you can imagine that if one of them is paying better rates or better, what would you call them? Dividends there's a specific word when you're an artist and a writer of a book, for the profits. There's a specific term I'm searching for. But anyway, if you pay the artists better at one company than the others, there we go. So there is competition. That's the one good thing in its favor. Because I agree that the average company is just going to want to keep that savings for itself instead of investing that into the artists. But when you have lots of competition, it could potentially lead to better pay rates. Royalties. Thank you. You guys are smart. It just was not coming to me. When I'm in the moment, sometimes, yeah. I'm describing trickle-down economics. I understand that is the fear here. That yes, by paying a company more, everybody makes up. I don't believe trickle-down economics, and I don't believe it works. What I believe is you're creating room to make these more profitable and easier to produce, but you're hopefully, this is what I'm hoping, creating competition amongst each other as well. That's what I'm specifically hoping for, is the competition aspect. So anyway, I think that what I've seen from looking into digital comics and webtoons from South Korea is it's very similar to how a lot of the Japanese manga will work when it's published in thought I'd have. Oh yeah, I've got an example. You know, they're weekly anthology magazines, which is close to a 50-50 split on the rights. And the advantage there is that the bigger companies already have the connections to then turn it into, say, an anime, a movie, a live action TV show, a video game, toys. So there is some benefit there to splitting the rights. So I think that that's what's going on in some of these more popular webtoons. Oh, just to be clear, a lot of Webtoon is technically still losing money. Yes. They have not turned on how to properly monetize all of this stuff. So, but there's competition. We'll see. All right. Oh, any costs related to marketing and promotional expenses will be excluded. I'll just put that out there. That's still on the company to figure out. Switching from manhwa to manga, really anime in this, but one of my favorites, Dandadan. Dandadan season 3 could be delayed because of a certain piece of news. So Dandadan keeps hitting success after success. Manga is selling fantastically. TV show, tremendous amount of views, really big hit. I like both. But the animation studio behind it may have to delay work on creating the 3rd season. Season 2 is coming out right now, but we might not get season 3 in a timely manner. Animation studio Science Saru is the studio that animates the show. But they just announced that they are going to readapt the Ghost in the Shell manga by Shiro Masamune? I think it was Masamune. The entire team behind Dandadan, director, they're all going to be undertaking the responsibility of animating the new Ghost in the Shell. I don't know. It's not a big enough studio that they can just be like, oh yeah, we can take on 2 projects simultaneously. They have to go from one to the other. I get that Ghost in the Shell is the proven moneymaker. I get that. But I really hope that they don't delay season 3 too badly, because there's some real momentum behind Dandadan. There's some real momentum behind it. Ken T draws. Thank you for the super sticker. A delay is better than a dip in quality. I would agree. But we'll see. You know, I mean, they may choose a different animator if like, it depends on how big a project Ghost in the Shell becomes, but apparently Ghost in the Shell is the priority, and then they'll get to Dandadan. Dandadarn. That I don't know if you're talking about Ghost in the... I have a lot of details, so I don't know if it's going to be like a new reinterpretation or another literal adaptation. I don't really know. I don't know. Yeah, they could be spreading themselves too thin. I agree. They're really good. I will say that. Like Dandadan, as far as an animated TV show goes, it's really good. It's really good. Very, very fluid. You know, yeah, some of the stuff they do for fight scenes and action scenes, I'm like, how do you do this on a TV schedule and budget? Because they'll have, you know, the camera going like 360 degrees, and I'm like, well, this isn't digital. Like, how are they figuring this out? But it's some really vibrant animation. I really like it. All right. DC has confirmed a Batman Green Arrow, technically also Question, crossover. There's a little tidbit of information at the tail end of this that I wanted to mention. So this is going to be a 4-issue crime story by Gabriel Hardman, writing and drawing. Comes out November 26th, and this is a Black Label imprint. So it's not explicitly in mainstream continuity. Could be a bit more adult, a little bit more focused on real world consequences. So the subtitle of the book, Arcadia. Here's the description from DC. In Arcadia, working from the decaying husk of Hub City, Vic Sage, the Question, goes deep undercover on the trail of a human trafficking operation in the frozen Arctic. Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, pushed out of his own company's C-suite, must get his crumbling life back together. But what is Queen Industries' involvement with a mysterious project dubbed Arcadia? Spurred on by the question, Green Arrow joins the hunt for answers, but one obstacle stands in the way of their investigation: the Batman. Okay, that seems like a lot of working parts, but okay. There is a variant cover, which I'm showing here, and that was made by Dennis Cohen, who famously worked on The Question in the 80s, I believe, and Bill Sienkiewicz. Obviously, I mean, I think Sienkiewicz's style is pretty apparent there. They made this back in 1988, and it was done as a promotional poster. But it has never been used as a comic book cover. But this is a 1988 piece of artwork that is now being repurposed as a variant cover. I think it's gorgeous. I would love to be able to get my hands on this. Yeah, I absolutely love the Fables Annuals that was the original crossover between these three. So this is basically a follow-up conceptually to that idea. Mm-hmm. You know your history. Very nice. It could be really cool. I like crime comics, and these are all good ground level superheroes. Dennis O'Neil Question Run is godly. It really is good. Denny O'Neil did some really great crime stuff on both Batman and The Question. Oh wait, he also did Green Arrow, didn't he? He did some stuff on Green Arrow. So anyway, yeah, he has a lot of ties to this. All right. I like them too. They're both characters that could just be very simple knockoffs of Batman, but I think that they've really carved out their own niche by developing the characters' personalities and backgrounds. You know, but they're all street level people that just kick and punch, you know? I think it sounds cool, and I love this variant cover. You're right that they technically don't need to legally, I think, pay the creators a second time. However, you also probably don't want to piss off Bill Sienkiewicz and risk not getting to work with him anymore. So hopefully that means DC will do the right thing. I'll tell you that when Paul Levitz was the president and publisher for DC, it felt like he was always looking out for creators when it came time for something like that to be repurposed. He made sure that his creators got paid. I can see a bit of that. G.I. Joe is getting Hama Files editions. I'll explain. Maybe this is only exciting to me as a big G.I. Joe nerd, but to me, G.I. Joe is Larry Hama. So Skybound Image and Hasbro jointly announced that they're launching the Hama Files editions. That's going to reprint key issues from the original Marvel run of Larry Hama's G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. Okay, so not like every issue, just like the key ones, the key lore stuff. It's going to include a letter from Hama, the writer, discussing the background of the comic and offering new insights, which will be included in each issue. The first issue in the new program is going to be this one, number 26. That was both written and penciled, it should be noted, by Larry Hama. And that was where we finally learned for the first time Snake Eyes' background, his origin story, how he became a ninja instead of just a soldier, as well as his connection to Storm Shadow. Yeah, there were basically like 4 friends in Vietnam, long-range patrols. There was Stalker, Fred, Storm Shadow, and Snake Eyes. Very cool. Very cool. If you've never read it before, cool way to catch up. If you have read it before, we're going to get some extra insight into the biggest story issues. I love it. I like it. Sounds kind of cool, actually. I love that Hama will do a little essay for each issue. Me too. Me too. More Diamond drama. We're going to talk about Diamond Distribution and the fallout from their bankruptcy. So the latest issue with Diamond Distribution is that there's this ad hoc committee, I should explain. The ad hoc committee is a coalition of a lot of indie publishers that still have some of their inventory that they consigned to Diamond to sell and distribute and then pay them. It's still being held. So I'm talking like publishers like Ablaze and I want to say maybe Zenoscope, like, but you know, not Marvel or DC, like the smaller tier ones. But there's like a group of like about 12 to 20 of them, okay? Anyway, they are claiming, the committee is claiming that Diamond has been selling their consigned inventory. This is inventory that they say that they're entitled to get back. They don't want Diamond selling it, but they say that Diamond's selling it. And Diamond is saying it's not us selling it. But the comics are definitely getting out there. So somebody is selling these comics and not paying the creators. Hey, thank you for this. Anyone here on chat want to recap some of the news for me? I don't have as much time to watch all of these videos all the way through. Wish I did, though. Fair concern. I don't know how easily it would be to sort of recap everything. I will say that when I finish these episodes, I go back and edit the description to add chapter breaks so that you can jump around a little faster. I just want to point that out. Okay. No, there's more Diamond drama. This is going to have fallout for a while, I guess. You are going to keep hearing about them, I guess. Anyway, so the committee is asking the bankruptcy courts. This is the thing that came up this week. They asked the bankruptcy courts to order Diamond to reveal who is selling their comics. And they requested that the courts do that within 7 days. So maybe by next week, they figure that out. I don't know. Meanwhile, the annual edition of this, the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide, that is published still by Gemstone Publishing, which is owned by Steve Geppi, the guy who used to own Diamond Distribution before it was, of course, sold in the bankruptcy process. The Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide put out a press release explaining that it is delayed from its normal release date, which they usually release it timed to San Diego Comic-Con in July, early July, or mid-July? Anyway, wherever in July the comic convention takes place. They're delaying it to November. And the statement just says that the bankruptcy delayed them, but no comment about how the bankruptcy was basically their decision. Anyway, it's still a really good, useful resource. You know, Robert Overstreet still writes essays for it and does market analysis on trends. So it's still a useful tool. It's been out for a long, long time, but I know that we can look up an individual issue quickly these days with, you know, just eBay or anything like that, Mercari, and figure out what things are going for. But the price guide still gives you overall trends for where different runs and key issues are going. I can understand why people would like it. Price guides used to be something that I could pore over when I was younger. I would just go like, oh, interesting. What's this comic? I didn't know that there was a Fantastic Four versus X-Men comic, but it's listed here and it says it's worth $3.50. Oh, interesting. You know? Yeah, they probably should have their own recurring segment. All right. The San Diego Comic-Con could be impacted by the Olympics. Let's go into that a little bit. We're almost done with the news. San Diego Comic-Con is currently only agreeing to host the event in San Diego itself because it's technically owned by a group called Comic-Con International, a nonprofit. But they're currently only there's only an agreement to host it in San Diego through 2027. So what happens in 2028? In 2028, Southern California gets really busy. So Los Angeles will be hosting the Olympics that year. And that's from July 14th through July 30th. And then San Diego County is also going to be hosting a surf competition. So that just says like, okay, so suppose you have the convention in San Diego again. how much would that impact traffic from people that live in Los Angeles, which a lot of those people come down for the convention every year? There's other concerns that I'm about to get into. But then the convention itself isn't obligated to stay in San Diego. They've been saying that they could put it in LA, for instance, but in 2028, could they? Like, it would be, or would they have to have it at a different time? Like right after the pandemic, I think that they had a convention in November and they called it like special edition just because they were getting back into it. They were past some of the regulations. So, yeah. Comic-Con International's Chief Communications and Strategy Officer, a guy named David Glanzer, he spoke at a panel at this past year's San Diego Comic-Con, and someone asked about, like, hey, 2028, what's going on? He said what will be important for them to follow is how union contracts go, and as far as an impact to them. Because the unions are the guys that like do the transport and the setup and who knows, maybe the electrical, stuff like that. All these aspects that go into keeping a convention running. Those unions may be sending a lot of their workforce up slightly to the north to Los Angeles to keep the infrastructure of the Olympics going. The Olympics is a massive, massive, massive event. As somebody that went to the 96 Olympics in Atlanta, I can barely explain to you just how big it is in person. So depending on how some of these contracts go, they may not have the infrastructure to host an event this big at the same time. We'll see. What Olympic event could you do? Me, pizza eating. What could I do? Well, comic book trivia? That's not Olympics. It has to be athletic on some level, right? When I was younger, I mean, I might have said like golf or volleyball. Those were things I was decent at. I don't know if I'm good at anything now. Walking without breaking my legs? Maybe. Comic reading. Just sit there. Done. All right. Last piece of news. Jinlun Yang revealed some TMNT details. So he's going to be taking over writing Ninja Turtles with issue 13. And he spoke about his goals with the series this week on comicbook.com. A few interesting tidbits here to acknowledge. He said that his favorite turtle is Donatello. Mine too. So I'm already interested. What else? He added that he's going to continue directly from where the Jason Aaron Juan Ferreira run leaves off. And he didn't go into specifics, but it sounded like there wasn't necessarily going to be a time gap, the way I was interpreting his comments. Whereas the Jason Aaron run did start with a little bit of a time jump forward to explain where characters were. He promised that he loves the Rogues Gallery that Ninja Turtles have. He talked about how, like they have villains like walking, talking Triceratops. And I agree. They've got some great villains that should be used a lot. He wanted to add to that. He says that he's going to be introducing a new masked enemy that vacillates between villainous and sometimes being an ally. Okay. Don't know what that means, but I'm glad that he's thinking of new enemies because we need lots of cool ones. We need them. Anyway, that is the news of the week, folks. So with that said, how about I add a camera and we talk about some of the comics that came out this week? Does that sound like a plan? I think it sounds like a great plan. We'll do some reviews.
All right, gentlemen, let's review.
I think I've reviewed about as much as I can.
I need to make that longer so that I can have some time to add my camera setup and everything. All right, hold on. I'm just getting this focused, and then I'll be with everybody. I'll be with you. I'll be with you. Comments. We'll do it like that. All right, so I got a few good comics and manga this week. Not all of them require deep dive reviews, though. Let me set this aside. I think I'll talk about these two books first. Peach Momoko's Ultimate X-Men. It only occurred to me recently that almost all the mutants I know are sort of like existing characters from Marvel that she's done her own spin on. Armor and Sister Grimm, Psylocke, Cyclops. But I hadn't really picked up initially that they were also all women. And I thought that was interesting, that she somehow slowly assembled a team of mutant heroes, and they're all women. Good for you, Peach. You created something. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh! Oh! Go Minasai. All right. Please forgive me. This issue features a bunch of these friends teaming up to save other friends that are being controlled by a cult, the Children of the Atom. And we get the return of Natsu in this. I want to find there's one cool panel. Look, I love how Peach draws Natsu in this. Natsu also means summer, and of course, Cyclops is Scott Summers. So I like that she hid that in front of us, that we didn't really pick up on that right away. But this is their version of Cyclops, but doesn't always have the visor, just has like one eye that can shoot lasers. They are more lasers than force, I think. This character, the Maester, has up to now just been the leader of this cult, right? And we know that he reports to higher up people like Viper and Silver Samurai. So he's really been sort of a middleman, and I didn't think too much of him until this issue. And then I finally was like really looking at his cape and what he's doing. Look, in this, he's sucking on the arm of a mutant. He cut off this mutant's arm. He's sucking on it, and it allows him to heal. So he's done something. Like, he doesn't have these like natural powers, but he's doing something with science, okay? There was a panel in here that I wanted to point out as well. Where was it? I missed it somewhere. Oh, okay, here it is. Or maybe not this one, but this is good, close enough. Look specifically at how his cape is drawn in like these sort of almost like feathered arcs instead of one large cape. It's pieces. I don't know. I didn't put this together either. But Maester is, I think, Maester Sinister. He's Mr. Sinister. He does biological experiments with mutants. And like the cape is very much like Mr. Sinister's cape in the way, say, Mark Silvestri would represent it. I don't know how I didn't pick up on that sooner, but I didn't. And I appreciate that all of this stuff was laid out. The clues were there. Maybe I'm the one that's really slow to pick up on characters like Mr. Sinister and Cyclops. But, I mean, Cyclops I did guess at a few months back, but Mr. Sinister I only did after this one. There's a lot to like anyway. There's a lot to like. Sure, we like Peach's art, right? That goes without saying because she's popular, okay? Not everybody likes it, but a lot of people like it, okay? But her storytelling's really strong. And, in that interview that I did with Peach over on Comic Tropes, she and her husband, Yo, spoke about how she really comes up with her own ideas for characters first, and then if there's a way to use existing Marvel mythology, they'll connect it. And I like that it's that way instead of going like, well, we should use Mr. Sinister. Here's a new take on him. She's coming up with this story from the ground up and then weaving these in. And it really works well. I knew he was sinister, but Cyclops I didn't know until you mentioned her name being Summer. Thank you. I don't care if they are all young girls in Ultimate X-Men. Peach Momoko is able to write a group of teenage girls with trauma who awaken their mutant powers. And it felt organic because these are Japanese schoolgirls. So it was normal for a bunch of them to be just classmates. And you didn't think like, okay, well, where's the dude representation? Because obviously there are male characters in here. Kanan, who is Psylocke in this, has a brother that's an important character. There's an analog for Rogue, who's more of a vlogger / journalist, and she's got, sort of a boyfriend that she's not always in touch with. And I don't know what to make of this. Akihiro, who is some sort of a mutant that the Maester like has tied up to all this organic biotech machinery. In the comics, Akihiro is Wolverine's son. He looks like Wolverine in this, but is he related? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. What I like about this is that I can't tell where it's going. I also wouldn't have expected Molly Hayes to be an important character in this, because in the comics, Molly Hayes is one of the Runaways, but she's not a mutant. In this, she is. But in the comics, what is she? I'm trying to remember. Is she an Inhuman? I think she's an Inhuman in the comics. I don't know. It's good. It's really strong. There's a lot to like about the lore in this. This was so fun. Look, I am always talking about how much I love Ryan North's take on Fantastic Four. And he's overseeing Marvel's current event, One World Under Doom. But what's cool about that is he really doesn't lose sight of how key the Fantastic Four are to Doctor Doom. Even if Doctor Doom is like sort of the villain for all the Marvel universe right now, he ties in the Fantastic Four in such a key way. In this, Mr. Fantastic challenges Doom to a debate. He's like saying, hey, you're doing all this good for the world. How about you have an intellectual debate with me, and we'll put that to the test. And of course, with Doom's ego, he can't resist. But that's providing just enough of a distraction for the rest of the heroes to really investigate how Doctor Doom is doing everything that he's doing. Because so far, this is issue 6. For 5 months, we've been seeing Doctor Doom literally make the world a better place. And we're like, well, is he legit just a good, benevolent leader? I mean, he's stopped all wars. He's increased healthcare for everyone. Everyone's getting fed. Everyone's getting healthcare. What's the downside? Why do the heroes want to take him down when this is what he's accomplished? I can't give it away, but let's just say this finally explains how he's getting that done, and it turns Doom back into a detestable villain. And I loved it. And it makes sense. It makes sense character-wise that Doom thinks he's doing something for the greater good. And you could almost argue that he is. But what he's doing is pretty bad. What he's doing is really bad, and I love that twist. The patience to hold off until issue 6 to reveal how he's doing all of this. Pretty interesting. Thanks for the super chat. Peach Momoko and her husband know barely anything about the X-Men. It's true. So it's crazy that it's likely unintentional they combined Jimmy's Mother Vine thing with Akihiro's healing powers. Some of that could be the help of Zach Davison, who helped with the final script. And he knows the Marvel lore. He might be the one that's saying like, hey, this element that you've added lines up with what they're doing in Marvel history. So if you call it that name, call this person by this name or that name, he may be adding that element. Because I know that Zach knows his Marvel history. I don't know for a fact. I don't know. It could be the editors that are coming up with this. But you are right. Peach and Yo didn't grow up reading manga or comics, basically. I mean, maybe some manga, of course. But Peach has said, it's not what she was a painter. She wasn't a comics junkie. I think what they're doing is incredible. So I wish I could give away more of this. But all I can say is that as far as an event goes, another element that I like about One World Under Doom, I know that there are tie-in stories and other things that Doctor Doom's doing. I have had zero problem following just this one title, One World Under Doom, and it keeps the focus on the Fantastic Four and Avengers essentially trying to figure out what Doctor Doom has done to take control of the world and to seemingly be running it just fine. I don't feel like I'm missing any story elements that are probably being explained in some spin-off or tie-in or anything like that. So as far as an event goes, so far, would I call this, on the level of, an epic Secret Wars or something? No, but my estimation of this event might be growing stronger and stronger because I don't feel that I need to read any other tie-in spin-off issues, and I'm getting a full story, and I like that. And it's very satisfying. I think that it's treating Doom with a lot of respect. It's really building him up to be a formidable opponent, and I like that. I like that a lot. This might be my pick for Book of the Week, folks. Radiant Black. This is a done-in-one story for issue 36. Radiant Black is the main character, but in this world, there are 4 different Radiant powers that we know of. Radiant Red can transform physical matter into other physical matter. Radiant Black has gravity-type powers. Radiant Pink does teleportation. Radiant Yellow could look through time and affect time. Very weird, nebulous powers, it seemed initially, but they ended up becoming more and more specific the more we understood how it worked. But the original guy to wield Radiant Yellow died. This issue follows basically a homeless junkie who comes across the Radiant Yellow powers and uses them just to find things, because she was brought up to just ask Saint Anthony to help her find stuff. Subconsciously, she's using the Radiant Yellow powers to basically check every possible place for something. And the one timeline where she finds it is sort of the one that she is willing to happen. But so like on a quantum level, she's looking at all of these different options. They represent it really well on one page where she goes to she's trying to find some lady, her missing wedding ring the lady thinks she left it in her car that was towed to a junkyard. And so we've sort of got these different yellow versions of this lady looking in all the different places. But the one that isn't just yellow, the one that's like in full color, she's just like, found it. Okay, so that's the premise, right? She eventually sort of understands a little better how these powers work, but also realizes that she doesn't have long to live. Her years of hard living, thanks to drugs and, being on the streets and stuff, mean that she doesn't have much time left. Her body doesn't have much time left. But someone gives her like this idea. Her sister gives her this idea that's so beautiful. She's like, what if you took the long way around? I don't think that's the exact words that they use, but she's like, well, you've said that you use this power to like search for something and that you're using that as borrowed time. She's like, what if you took the long way around? Find something really tough. And so that's how it's going to tie in to the main story. But in this, we get one lady's life, and I'm not talking about a lot of elements within this, to be clear. A big part of this issue is her relationship with her sister and her family. It's so good, folks. This is almost like sort of a Twilight Zone type of thing, like a scientific idea presented as an episode, and then you're moving on. It's so good, though. They've really knocked it. This is a guest artist for this, Stefano Simeone, written by the regular team of Kyle Higgins and Joe Clark. But issue 36, I got goosebumps reading this on an emotional level. I was just like, oh my God, the stuff that this lady's going through. It's so relatable, that this homeless person that just needs some help, but she might not be all there, and she's got various reasons how she got here. So then on top of that, there's an extra bonus to this issue. Where is it? QR code. What happens when you scan that? There's a live action Radiant Black segment that's a PSA about charity work. But this is they filmed an actual live action Radiant Black PSA. Oh, that's right. I keep using the outdated term that they're called unhoused now. Sorry. That's my age showing. I'll work on that. It's a beautiful issue, folks. I totally recommend picking this up if you've never read Radiant Black before, because it's a one-shot and you'll get just the vibe of what they can do with character work and sci-fi and how they balance that. This is a fantastic issue. Maybe the best. It's and it doesn't even star the main character, but it fits within that world and it's going to be important. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, yeah, pretty spectacular. Other things I read this week, I don't feel the need to get into as much. Although Something is Killing the Children, number 43, very strong issue. Love it. Yeah, love it. Dick Tracy, I continue to enjoy. It's just a crime comic. Pretty violent, but honestly, so was the original Dick Tracy. Napalm Lullaby, issue 10. It's the final issue of this series. I was up and down, hot and cold. I do like where it ends. It's not what I expected, and I do like it quite a bit. And just regular G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, has Dr. Mindbender looking to revive Serpentor, which would be bad for the Joes. But there's also some great cross-cutting of action between like the Ninja Force undercover at Cobra's resort and Cobra Commander escaping from Destro, but probably being tracked. There's another sort of action bit in this that I'm trying to remember. I don't know. There's like 3 or 4 different battles happening at once. It's a great little mix of stuff going on. So pretty fun. Not a whole lot to say. You know what I do have stuff to say is the latest volume of Dandadan came out. Volume 14. And it hit the balance that I like. The balance of wild, crazy action with both aliens and ghosts and yokai, as well as really lovely character work, especially focused on the main characters of Momo, Ayase, and Okuran. I loved it. But specifically, what I think I'd enjoy showing you guys to sell you on this is not just the detail in the characters, but the detail in this that they put into the backgrounds. I say they because Yuki Nobutatsu must have some of the best assistants in manga right now. Because look at the level of detail on this alien robot suit getting blasted apart. That is just a tremendous amount of detail. But there's even more. There's even more because this issue features some giant sort of kaiju battling over Tokyo. And there's some 2-page spreads in here. There. Look at this first one. This is not sort of like an existing screen tone or just, Photoshop of a photo of Tokyo. This is actually drawn. The level of detail in this staggers me. I really haven't seen this level of detail in backgrounds and destruction since Akira. And I know that comparing a manga to Katsuhiro Otomo it's saying a lot. It's saying a lot, But I think it's fair. Is this as serious or as deep as Akira? No. That's not what I'm saying. But on an artistic level of what they're achieving with character work and pacing and detail. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. I just recently was making an episode for Comic Tropes about My Hero Academia, which also has some really beautiful artwork. I like it a lot. But I realized that while it does do good establishing shots a lot, it doesn't always have this much detail. It just doesn't. No manga that I read has this level of detail. But this is fun and it's lighthearted. Look at this. This is one giant robot hitting a kaiju with the Tokyo Tower. And then later, the kaiju comes back by grabbing the Tokyo Sky Tree, which is not far away and is bigger. So they're like having almost a jousting match over this city. Now, this part of the city, I do think some of this is digital, to be clear. Some of this is digital, and I think some of it is like line drawn. But I think they've earned that by doing other pages here where they clearly drew it by hand. And to do it in this sort of isometric, basically like really long view 3-point perspective, that is not easy. That is just amazing to me, like how good this looks. And you're not seeing it like it. The camera isn't doing it justice, but the amount of detail in this is just incredible. But that's the thing, Mott. By the way, lovely to see you here. This book keeps coming out regularly. So, the Japanese definitely work too hard, in my opinion, on their manga. They do up to like 20 pages a week sometimes. But this is definitely something where assistants are making this possible. There's definitely a team drawing all this. But even then, to coordinate and come up with the layout and everything, it's a really amazing accomplishment. This is fun. It's funny. It's so charming. Yeah, Tatsu was an assistant with Fujimoto-san for I think 2 different mangas. Chainsaw Man for a while, and before that, was it Fire Force? I forget. He has assistants. I think he even mentions them in this somewhere. I was just taking a quick look. But anyway, this hits my blend between, sort of interpersonal drama and action in a really charming way. But the art in this especially blew me away. Boy, I could have sworn there was a page that listed his assistants, but now I'm having trouble finding it. Maybe I'm thinking of a different manga. Sorry, folks. I don't know. I do recommend it. No spoilers, but the chapters in volume 14 are some of my absolute favorite in the series thus far. And yet it couldn't have been done before. Like they've built up the lore and the characters in this. It's some really satisfying payoffs, and it's still setting up future stuff. Really good. Oh, Fire Punch, right? Fire Punch. Fire Punch was Fujimoto, right? Oh yeah. You can often see the artwork level up when it becomes popular, and it's hard to pinpoint the exact chapters. But for instance, I just reviewed, without spoiling it, I had to look at the entire run of My Hero Academia, a 10-year run. And the initial pages are great. That's where an artist is putting their all into it so that it becomes popular. And at the same time, you realize as it goes on, beyond an artist evolving a little bit, they've got to be hiring either more or better assistants, because the artwork just sort of at a certain point in almost every manga just sort of goes up a notch. It's really interesting. I like it when they include the credits too. So I feel like, what did am I missing it or something? I could have sworn he mentioned all his assistants in this, but maybe I'm missing the page somehow. They usually do list the assistants, I feel like, in the Tankobon volumes. I don't know how I'm missing it, but I could have sworn. Anyway, just to be clear, I read another manga this week that also happened to be volume 14. Now, the artwork in this is a lot simpler relative to what I was just reading. It's charming in its own way because this is a little sillier, okay? Spy Family is a little bit more, what word would I be using for the type of comedy? It's a little more broad. It's I'm trying to think of the exact term for this type of humor. I feel so dumb. It's not coming to me. Okay. So, this was a good issue, though. This was a really good issue. We get two stories in this that I really like. One involves the family in this, the titular family, going skiing. And they all get sort of stuck in a snowstorm at a hotel, or maybe it's more of an Airbnb. So yeah, there they are, sort of like going skiing. They get stuck in a snowstorm, and there's a murder. And they have to, the Lloyd, the father, the titular spy in Spy Family, has to figure it out. But it doesn't dwell on that for too long, since this is a little bit lighthearted, because his daughter is telepathic. Anya is so precocious. But that's a fun story. And then there's a second one where at Anya's elite school, there's a series of contests chosen for who will get to dance with this rich snob, Damien Donovan, that his friends improvise. And it's so silly because all these girls want to dance with like sort of the richest kid in class, who's a bit of a jerk, but he's got his charming side. They have like balancing contests and races and stuff like that. It's so silly. And there's also sort of a third story that's like a flashback with some of the supporting characters in this. The headmaster of the school in his younger days as a student, and his sort of tragic love story with a lady that he loved. That maybe there's still room to find, but it also it gives you this really lovely love story, right? That doesn't quite work out because in the modern day, he and this lady that he was interested are now older. They're not old, but they're a lot older, and they're not together, but they're reconnecting now. But you're like, oh, so they didn't end up together when you're reading their flashback. It also gives you some important backstory on why there are two countries at war, which means, that the main character in this, Lloyd Forger, has to be a spy. He's trying to make sure that like these two countries can broker a peace. But anyway, the artwork is a lot more cartoony, but this book makes me laugh out loud. It really does. So I liked it. But I absolutely loved this latest issue of Dandadan. That said, if I have to choose a book of the week, it's not easy. These are the top three: Dandadan, One World Under Doom, and Radiant Black. But I absolutely have to give my choice for book of the week to Radiant Black issue 36 because it's done in one. And it's fantastic. It's emotional. It's clever. Gives you some really great stuff. And then on top of that, you get the bonus link to a live action Radiant Black PSA. That's awesome. That's awesome. But as far as my recommendations go, beyond this being my choice for book of the week, I've enjoyed One World Under Doom a lot. I think it's an event worth following because it's not unwieldy. And this is one of the best volumes of Dandadan. Volume 14 is so good. So, oh, cool. I'm glad that you read Spy Family as well. That's really nice. It's so good. It's so good. Yes, it's very clearly Spy Family is analogs for East and West Germany during the Cold War. You're absolutely right. But because they're fictionalized, they can play with a lot of elements without it getting too real, too depressing or anything like that. Oh, interesting. Chemdog says that I'm missing out with not reading Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. I wondered about picking that up. Nobody ever owes me a super chat. Thank you for your support, but nobody owes me it, and I'm not offended at all. So those are everything I read this week for comics. So we've done news, reviews, and interviews. I think I'll set up for doing a little bit of artwork. I had laid out a character that was going to be Spider-Man, and then I was like, no, you know what's more fun? I'm going to turn this into Arachnid Enforcer, Jim Mafood's upcoming Kickstarter project. I'm just looking for some other paper to put underneath this so that I don't, or just so that I've got some give. Bear with me. I'm going to get up and get some supplies. I'll be right with you. I'm going to the deep background here. Surprise, it's me. I'm getting this. What am I talking about? You couldn't see me. Can you see me now? All right, I'm back. Let me choose which tools I'm going to draw with. Oh, you know what would be fun? Ooh. If you folks are willing to give me the time, my sister bought me some acrylic pens. Maybe I want to try to draw this with acrylic paint. That's some weird light. Some acrylic paint instead of just pen and ink. That might be fun. Yeah, you know what? I think I want to play with those. Okay, tell you what. This is going to take me a minute. I'm going to run upstairs to get my acrylic markers. And, hey, I'm coloring Arachnid Enforcer pages as we speak. This is a meta moment. Yeah, okay, I'm going to do it, folks. I'll be right back. Give me a minute or two. Here I come, here I come, here I come. Hold on. So, here I come. Here I come. Okay. My sister got me a wonderful birthday present. She got me these 60 acrylic markers. So, I've never really messed with this stuff before. It's going to be a very different way to draw. Woo, there's so many. Hold on. Hold on. I think I opened it upside down for what's going to be easiest. I can't wait. Let's see what this is like. Oh, no, I have to do it the other way after all. Okay. It's just so wobbly. So this might not be my best art because I'm going to be working with some tools that I haven't really played with a lot before. Look, they give you all these stickers so that you can label the pens the way that's easiest for you. Kind of weird that they didn't do that for me, but okay. So these are like using a pen to paint, okay? Oh, man. Oh, I'm so jealous of Andrew. I really want that. I don't get Lego much, but I really want that Lego Soundwave. I asked for it for my birthday. Nobody picked up on that. That's okay. But let's see what we can do here. I'm just choosing like the reddest of the red first to, yeah. Oh, man, that is so vibrant as a color. Yeah, this is way more than, say, like working with alcohol-based markers. This is literally as though I had a paintbrush and was mixing together colors and stuff, except the specific color is already done. So all I need to do is use this like a brush, and I get what a result. Wow. Oh my God, this is a great gift. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you to my sister. This is wonderful. It's going to be hard for me to do a good job. It's my first time playing with these, but I love how vibrant they are. It's $500 a brick. No kidding. No, these aren't in mint condition anymore. Promoting a Kickstarter is not easy, so I was happy to have Kyle Starks on earlier, and I'm happy to do something like this to just put a little more attention on Jim's upcoming project. One other thing I'll mention is that I did an interview earlier today with Daniel Warren Johnson, and I'm going to throw that up on my main channel. He's got a Kickstarter for an art book, and it's doing very well. So he didn't really need the help, but I like his art. We do a short interview, and I'm going to put it on my main channel if I can finish editing it tonight. So Jim kind of draws his Spider-Man, or not Spider-Man, Arachnid Enforcer eyes closer to what somebody like Ditko or Ramita did, smaller. But what can I say? I'm giving him big eyes. Because the one really cool thing about Jim's satirical characters is they're outlaw comics, he says. There's not any hard and fast rules. So I can do what I want. Shout out to the sisters in the world. You're about to see some of what will make this character a little different than Spider-Man. And that is that you don't have to do curved webbing on him. Hooray! That's fun. I'm not going to be able to really do fine level detail with this stuff because of its nature, but that's okay. The trade-off is that it feels like I'm painting more than I'm drawing. And I've always been comfortable being looser with my painted work. What's your excitement level for Alien Earth? If I was less busy, I would say that it would probably be something like a 9 out of 10. I've been busy, so I sort of keep forgetting that it's about to debut, and so it's more like a 7 out of 10, just because I've been too busy. But I hope it's good. I hope it's good. Exactly. Noah Hawley has done a lot of good stuff, so I'm hopeful. Yeah, I'm just like gonna focus on like the overall presentation right now, not like the fine detail. And we'll just see what I create. Oh, it's had good reviews already? I didn't know that. So, okay, so some copies have been shared to the media. You know what I could do? I'm just thinking of this now. There's nothing that says that I can't use my brush pens for parts of this. Yeah. Let me just see what something looks. Oh, that doesn't look bad at all. So I can still sort of do a comic booky outline with a brush pen or even detail on top. Okay. Just experimenting with what this can let me do. Godzilla versus Biollante. Biollante is an underrated, great monster in that in the whole Godzilla series. So is Hedorah. Like, not talking about the quality of the film, talking about like the quality of the monster idea. Biollante is awesome. I mean, it's a mix of like alligator, rose, like the flower roses, and what? The spirit of a dead teenager. Oh, I like how this looks personally. I know it may seem a little simplistic on the screen, but it's really fun to work with. Man, I got to take these markers with me if I ever do like a signing or anything in the future, because these would be fun to just draw on the cover a little bit and then like add any fine detail with pens and stuff on top. I didn't talk about Dean Cain this week just because it's not that comics. But if you guys didn't know, Dean Cain, one of the people to formerly play Superman on screen, this week did the absolutely bizarre move of saying that he wanted to volunteer to be part of ICE, which I think is a tremendously unpopular organization and would be so not in keeping with Superman's ideals. And on top of that, Dean Cain, I think he had a grandmother that was once held in a Japanese internment camp during World War II. If it wasn't his grandmother, it was something close to that. I'm not remembering the full details right now. But you would think somebody like that would have the sensitivity and understanding to realize that, you know, ICE aren't really the good guys. I don't know. Ever since he said that this week, I've seen a lot of posts on social media by people who have been at Comic-Cons where he's been a guest and said that the other actors and stuff generally avoid him in the green room because he's just not fun to hang out with and talk to. Lots of fans beyond disappointed in Dean Cain. Sure. Superman actor that's obviously never given any thought to the character he's known for playing. It seems like it, right? I don't know. Tanaka is his true last name. I've never heard that, but I knew he was, part Japanese. Yeah. All right, so that's what I wanted to do for that. I might do some weird, funky coloring in a little bit with some of this. Getting real close to the mic. Hello, hello. I hope that sticks, but I did see that in Venom, Mary Jane told Paul Rabin that she was breaking up with him, and I was like, oh, fans will like that. That sounds good. Fans will be A-okay with that move. Oh, I won't say anything about the movie itself because I don't want to spoil it, but I did see Weapons, and folks, it's great. It's really, really good. One of the best of this year's output, which is saying something. I strongly recommend checking it out. Yeah. Probably a little more thriller than horror, if that helps you, depending on what you like or don't like. I thought it was really, really well done. I think it's a cool movie that's worth checking out. This is a silver. Like, it's a really vibrant silver, too. The mention of Paul reminded you of Weapons. Yeah, it sort of did. No, it worked for me. I thought it was a really cool movie. Really, really cool. I got to use this silver some more. This thing's awesome. This Arachnid Enforcer definitely has external based web shooters. Mine does. No, don't say that. What else have I seen that's... I guess I haven't really had time to watch anything else that I would be like, oh, you got to catch this or that. No, can't really think of anything else I've had time for. Been pretty busy. If you're on Patreon, at the $2 and up levels, you can now get the newest episode I've created, which is going deep into something about My Hero Academia. That will be up soon. First, I'm going to upload for everybody this interview with Daniel Warren Johnson, who I think always has an interesting artistic perspective. And I had some specific questions about the way he's doing his art book, because there's a lot of different ways to do an art book. And he's doing something a little different. That made me think, yeah, I want to talk about this in a little more detail than what I would typically do. Let me just color in a few areas. This is a nice, cool gray. There's a bit of blue in it that I like. Oh, yeah, this is vibrant. Jeannie, if you're watching, thank you very much. This is a fantastic gift. I really appreciate it. All right. Yeah, Flesk, exactly. That's why I wanted to talk about it a little. The book is being put together by John Flesk. I was like, that's an interesting angle. I want to explore that a little bit. What do I have out of these that's sort of a brown or darker? I guess maybe. Well, I'll come back to that. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. Let me get my black. I did see Naked Gun. I laughed several times, so I feel like I got my money's worth. Does that make sense? Maybe I should. Well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and use black. Yeah, I'm watching when I can Strange New Worlds and Dandadan, but I am behind on Dandadan. Since I've read the manga, it's a little less of a priority for me. Generally, I've been enjoying Strange New Worlds quite a bit. I think it's a very cool take on some Star Trek elements. Wow. Folks, I recommend these. ArtX makes these markers, these acrylic pens. It's almost too easy to use them, which makes me nervous I'm going to make a mistake, but it really glides. And in person, the color is just supremely strong. Wow. Wow. I'll just slide into a Owen Wilson impression slowly. You won't even expect it. Wow. This stuff looks really good. Wow. Well, I was up for seeing it because it's written and directed by a guy who I generally like a lot, Akiva Schaffer, 1/3 of The Lonely Island with Andy Samberg and Jorma Taccone. I've liked what he's directed in the past and written, so I was up for it. Strange New Worlds, boy, I mean, I don't know that season 3 is quite at the quality level of season 2 overall, but it has some banger episodes for sure. The smudge factor, almost non-existent. It dries really fast. Colored Fast Tracks comics. I think you need to work with something big. Minoru. Was Minoru the one that had the grape balls on his head? Is that? I don't know. I don't quite remember off the top of my head that supporting character. Sorry. I know you were joking around too, but yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, there's probably a little bit of smudginess that's possible here, but generally, no, it's really strong. Jim, I hope I'm not embarrassing you with my take on your interesting character. I'm not talking as much as I usually do when I draw because I'm having a lot of fun. It's important to have fun when you make art. It's not always possible, but it's important. I think that whatever emotion you're feeling when you create something, some of that gets invested into the creation itself. And I know that sounds, very hippy dippy, but it's true. If you write something when you're feeling emotional, some of that's going to filter in. If you write something when you're angry or draw something when you're sad, it's going to filter in. I believe that anyway. I'm trying right now not to be too precious about how some of these blacks connect with each other. I'm going to clean a couple elements up in a second. Make the Arachnid your own. Okay, no rules. No rules. Well, I know, but that's Jim's thing. I'm not good at skulls. Yeah, this is this is a clone. Exactly. This is a clone. This is a great gift. My sister really nailed it this year. She nails it all the time. What am I saying? If you don't have a sister, I highly recommend getting one. They're great. No downside. Your parents are going to have to get involved. I will put that out there. They will have to get involved. My team is going to hire you to do a full color Arachnid clone Friday the 13th slasher one shot. We need 48 pages in the next 2 months. Oh yeah, that sounds great. I don't know when Derek Kirk Kim is planning on releasing his next issue or issues of The Last Mermaid. However, he did post on social media some designs for an upcoming villain. So I know that there are things in the works, at least. I wish I knew more, but I also like being surprised. Derek is amazing, though. He's created a heck of a comic with Last Mermaid. So good. Real strong recommendation from me. From me. Good question. My sister is also great at gift giving, and I am always embarrassed by my poor gift giving ideas. No. As long as you think of someone. Oh, I would love it to come right back to. Sisters from Other Misters. I guess I don't have strong opinions on that one. Is there any comic that you are currently reading that you think I'm missing out on by not reading? Interview Derek Kirk-Kim again? Maybe I should have him on this show. You know, maybe I should. I would love to. I really enjoy talking with Derek. We talk offline a bit. He's a really great dude. Really, really. I'm really glad I got to meet him in person. And yeah, he's, you know, there's a bunch of people that you can know in comics, and some of them you can even get along with, but only a few are really going to become people that you're friendly with. And I've never quite been able to figure out what that magic ingredient is to how we choose people that are going to be like a friend or someone that we just really enjoy hanging out with. But Derek is one that, yeah, is up there. Isn't it like you just sort of sometimes meet people and they're just easy to talk to for some reason? I don't know what that like magical quality is, but you just vibe with someone. I'm just talking in general right now. I don't know what that could be. I wish I was as confident with mixed media as Jim Mafood is, because I love when he does something like this and then he does something extra by, you know, maybe just getting a brush and hitting some spatter, or you know, gets out a whiteout pen and draws over it, and he just knows how to make certain mixed media work in concert, in my opinion, and I really admire that quite a bit. I love that stuff. Boy, I know I'm quieter than sometimes when I'm drawing, but I'm just having a really fun time with this. I should have asked for these ages ago. I don't feel like I'm drawing so much as I do feel closer to like when I paint and I let myself get loose and make mistakes, and it's just part of the finished product. That's just how I feel. So I know that this isn't like perfect, that like some of this perspective and stuff can be off a little. I'm just having fun. Mixed media tricks stolen from the mighty Sienkiewicz. Yeah, because you guys have like actually, you've like been able to hang out and watch him paint like a big piece before. I'm jealous of that, Jim. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I really, really love Bill Sienkiewicz. one of the happiest days of my life was like 2 years ago at Comic-Con New York, and getting a signature from him and him going like, "Oh, I know you. When am I going to be on your show?" And here we are 2 years later, and I haven't been able to get him, but he knew who I was, and that was really flattering because I'm a big fan. I love watching him draw as well, which I have been able to do at conventions a few times. He's just I like how sometimes an artist goes beyond the medium that they work in, if that makes sense. And it's not saying anything good or bad about, any mediums. It's just that I like when I can see an artist really just there to make art, not and maybe it's a story, and maybe it's just an image. I don't know. I just really admire him. Watched him, I assume Sienkiewicz, at Heroes one year working on a page with his thumbs. So wonderful. I've seen him draw or illustrate, whatever you want to call it, because he's using multiple mediums. He'll have paint, and he'll have whiteout, and he'll have brushes and all sorts of stuff. And sometimes he'll just like draw right over everything he's created. And you're like, what? And just keep going. It's part of his process. Did I see Sienkiewicz's Superman piece that was on the International Space Station? I don't think I did. I'm going to look it up. Not right this second, but I'll look that up. Well, thank you for joining. Dave McKean, yeah. Well, also, beyond Jim in the chat and Sienkiewicz and Dave McKean, there's a lot of mixed media creators or creators that are comfortable working in multiple pieces of artwork. But I'll say Daniel Warren Johnson also has a lot of tools literally nearby at his disposal. And I like seeing that stuff. Hey, thanks for the super chat. It's looking real good. The red is so vibrant. It really is. It really pops right now. Have you been keeping an eye on the new IDW Godzilla comic universe? I am really interested in the Oliver Ono space-centric Starship Godzilla. I'm a little interested in that too. And I'm not going to lie, they did send me a copy that I could have read digitally. I just decided I'd wait for the physical release, I guess. I wasn't totally wowed by the main Godzilla title. It felt like, and not trying to rip it off, but like a lot of the same stuff that I got out of Kaiju number 8. So I was like, I've felt this before, so I'm good. Thanks for the super chat, though. I do like Godzilla quite a bit, though. I will say that. I like Godzilla. That character's going places. Trust me. Yeah. Toho might have a hit on their hands with this Godzilla character that I've heard about. Right. And I'll say that the new Godzilla comic isn't necessarily a cleanup crew, but it is characters with powers working, basically for a government agency tasked with taking care of the kaiju. And it just felt a little similar. It's been almost 4 decades since Sienkiewicz has been involved on a good comic. I don't get that. What do you mean involved? Like as the interior artist or something? I mean, that I guess I might go along with, but he's done some spectacular work every single year, and his, covers and posters and just personal either commissions or tributes to artists and actors who've passed away. Some brilliant stuff. He's I don't feel like Sienkiewicz ever phones it in, I guess. Yeah, I've never looked at something by Bill Sienkiewicz and gone like, oh, that's not him trying hard enough. No, it's always, always, always really, really good. He's special to me. I'm sort of giving this guy the Ninja Turtles-esque knee pads. I don't know what else to call them. Like, I've never really seen anybody other than the Ninja Turtles wear knee pads that are quite like these. Invincible has sort of like knee armor at the top of his boots. What else do I want to use for highlights on this? I'm just having fun sort of dipping around with the different colors and stuff and choosing different ones. This is cool. You can lay these on. They don't blend, but they will like lay on top of each other really easily, apparently. And it isn't bleeding through the page or anything, so that's good. I know you can probably not really see these highlights. They're fairly subtle, but they're there. I'm going to find a way to darken some of this. Whoa. Thank you. Thank you for another Monday Live. I love doing this. Thank you for the support, but I really love talking comics with people, from my guests to you guys there in the audience. It means a lot to me. I have so much fun doing this show. I'll be back to answer questions in a sec, just focusing slightly on what I'm doing here. Am I aware of the Argentine, I think it would be pronounced Argentine, artist Domingo Mandrafina? Domingo Mandrafina? I don't think so. Doesn't ring a bell. Kurosawa made a film called Cloud? That one I can't think of. I've seen a bunch of Kurosawa. I don't know Cloud. Yeah, you can really layer this stuff on top of it and not really lose anything. It'll just pretty much cover up the last layer. Use this for like sort of a undercarriage. Yeah. Sounded a little bit like the angry video game nerd there. Yeah. That's what you want to see. Yeah. Oh, this can get a little messy if you're not careful. Like if it gets on your finger or something, you could smudge. Yeah. So there is a little bit of a danger. Yep. It doesn't dry instantaneously, so you could mess things up if you're not careful. I don't know that I have yet, but I'm close. Close to making mistakes. Spot on impression. Yeah. Kiyoshi Kurosawa. Cloud got its worldwide release just recently. I think you'd like his 1997 film Cure. I am not familiar. Sorry. Do you only draw flat surfaces when recording? Do you mean draw on flat surfaces? I don't understand the question. Let's see. Sorry, I know you've said already. Do you mind saying again what the brand is? Oh, no, I definitely don't, Mod. Art X. 2 R's. ARRTX. Acrylic markers. I love these. I've never used them before, but I'm just saying right now, I love them. When I was younger, I had an art desk that was at an angle. I don't have it anymore, and I don't really have the money or the time to afford to buy something like that. So these days, I just sort of draw on flat surfaces generally. Good question. Mott, you're making a comic right now, aren't you? I think I heard you say that you were working on a comic of some sort, like a biopic or something. Tell me I'm not crazy and that I'm remembering this right. No, I love working with acrylic These are acrylic. I love working with alcohol markers. The fun with those is that they blend really good. So that's super fun to play with. This is just, it's not as forgiving. So you really have to just treat it like you're painting and allow the mistakes to be part of the process, if that makes sense. So it's just making me work a little faster. And yeah. But alcohol are really fun. They've got like even more colors. They blend really well. I would say alcohol markers are almost closer to doing like watercolor, and these acrylic ones are more like working with just paint. If I don't know, I like them both. I've never tried drawing on a globe because, of course, we all live on God's flat green earth. Which is more archival? Probably these acrylic markers, but time will tell. That's a good question. I would imagine, and I don't know this actually. I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine alcohol-based markers fade with time, but I don't know. Yeah, alcohol is just fun. You have that, you see some colors, you call it a night. I'd love a Black Sad animated movie if they felt that they could keep up with the level of artistry brought by Guardino. That would be incredible. Anyone got any fun trips coming up? Let me live vicariously through you. What do you have coming up? Anything? Tyler, nice to see you. Mod had to step away, but yes, they're working on a web comic that is sort of a fictional auto-bio. Very cool. I'll have to ask during your next live stream, Tyler, what kind of tools they're using. By the way, Tyler has been on this channel for a short interview. I really love Tyler's work. I'm not trying to embarrass you, Tyler. I'm giving you an honest compliment. I love your painted work. Boy, do you know how to do interplay with light, and you're so patient. Tyler has a weekly live stream on Friday called The Cool Down. And last week he was doing a Swamp Thing piece that had ferns in the foreground. And he was like, ferns are just, they're so much more than just a leaf, because it's just all these leaves spreading out. And he was patiently using like highlights on each leaf. It gave it such a rendered quality that looked real. And Mod is using Procreate. That's interesting. I can't wait to see. You've got some good conventions there in the Northeast, and then you've got New York Comic Con in November. Now, Tyler, just next level. I'm just playing right now, with these tools. But you're good, yo. Where did I put? Oh, my black here. Actually, jumping around with all sorts of tools. That's me. recreating what I painted over. Trying to make it look okay. And only doing an average at best job. Wow, I really messed that up. I don't like that. Your studio's awesome. You've got so many great tools nearby. I've heard that the Black Sad video game is pretty good. I wanted to travel to the US in November or December, but it's not very friendly right now. No, I can't encourage anybody to visit here from another country right now. It's not very friendly. I don't think that I wish it was, of course. I wish it was, but it's not. Sorry. I don't know that I have a whole lot of control over these things, to be honest. Sorry, I'm putting some of my pens back or trying to organize a little bit. And then I'll just use some fun colors too. Let's see. Take this. Wow. This is a great gift. Folks, you got to pick up these ArtX markers. This is incredible. I have to admit, I don't know exactly how much they cost. It might not be cheap. I don't want to promise anything along those lines, but they are fun. This is awesome. I don't know, and I don't know if I'd want him to. It's hard to say. I don't want to stop. I know I'm quiet, and this is like a super sort of chill way to do the show, maybe chiller than what I usually do with my high energy antics and delightful impressions that thrill and entertain millions every week. But I can't help it. I'm just having a good time. I'd want to give this to Jim just to draw over and make it look better. Do his own thing with it. Maybe I'll put this a little more of a block. Yeah, it's pretty intentional that I draw at the end now, just because I know the viewership drops off, but you don't have to stay. It's just something I enjoy. It gives me time if I have any remaining thoughts on comics or comic related culture news. Gives me a little bit more time to play with those ideas. Mostly just relax and sort of draw and yeah, not really have to think too much about anything. It's fun. I do want to do one more thing with this. Let's see. I'm going to choose this, and I'll go like this. He's sort of got little web, like a light gossamer type web wing cape of sorts. So, yeah. Let me throw that on. Give that some texture as well. What upcoming comics are you excited for? Are you do you have anything in your head that you're aware of that's upcoming? Whether it's, published, republished, Kickstarter, anything like that? What's coming up that you're excited for? Studio Orange did Beastars. Yeah. Yeah, the Alex Toth Zorro campaign, I agree. That could be very cool. Deadpool Batman, totally agree. Retro Days is doing their own comic. Good. That is what you should be most excited about. Let me add a little bit of webbing to this ludicrous display. Did you see that display last night? What a ludicrous display. And I'm getting the Absolute Wonder Woman trade paperback soon. Very cool. Twilight Zone has some great creators behind it, so that could be good. That could be really cool. Yep, I am curious to see where Aaron goes. Yeah, there was a Sienkiewicz book, White. Oh my God, you're right. What was that? It was like coming back. No, this is Arachnid Enforcer. It's a satirical take on the Spider-Man ideas. More of a street-level urban avenger, you might call him. Coming to you soon on Kickstarter by one co-host of Trash Movie Bonanza, known the world over as Jim Mafood. One of the most exciting creators in comics. Jim has his own YouTube channel, by the way, if you haven't watched it before. And he's been very bold about opening up his old sketchbooks and sharing with you stuff that he did in his more formative years at like college and such. And I think there's a lot to learn from it. I do recommend going to the Jim Mafood YouTube channel and check it out. I once did an episode on comic tropes about a comic that I drew when I was 10. And I didn't even have the balls to show all of it. I showed 30 of the 60 pages I drew of a terrible Transformers comic. But it amuses me that I had that kind of energy as a child and thought that I was creating something worthwhile. It's like not even my own idea. And I created this humongous Transformers comic that was just so derivative of everything that the cartoon really did. Just god awful. Deep dives into old art, fun and slightly bizarre. I bet it's fun to come across something you created and not remember it, though. That would be very fun for me, and going like, this came from my imagination? What? I don't remember this. Okay. There we go. An Arachnid the art in the Kiss Players was still pretty darn good, but boy, was that one pervy, weird comic. Not highly recommended, believe it or not. That's nice of you to say. That's nice of you to say. I'm fairly happy with it. It's loose, but the colors vibrancy kind of counts for a little bit with this. I can see how labeling these pens would make it easier, because I'm just like looking for an empty slot. But look, you get a pack of 60 with this set. Art X acrylic marker set. There might be better ones out there for all I know, but this was fantastic to play with. Really, really fun. Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. Gonna put them away and wrap it up. But there's my piece of fan art for Jim's Arachnid Enforcer. So look that up, okay? I don't have regular cable, so I don't have the Sci-Fi Channel. I'm pretty sure that those have both of those comic adaptations, so I haven't seen either of them, but I am sincerely curious about especially Revival, I have to admit. That looks really interesting. All right, so now what I'm going to do... Oh, dude, it was fun. It was fun. I hope that, you have a really great campaign when this goes live. Right now, folks, you can just sort of put yourself on the Notify Me page. If you just look up Kickstarter Jim Mafood, this is pretty much the first thing that would show up right away. No. It wasn't intended for print. This is just for fun for me. Like I said, I'd sort of laid out a Spider-Man and then was like, Spider-Man. Let's just draw something more original. Let's change this all up. Okay, so here's what's coming up. I'll plug myself at the end here. As soon as this is done, I'm going to put in some chapter breaks, and then I'm going to edit together a Daniel Warren Johnson interview about an art book that's done a little bit more different than some others. And so I just decided to do a short interview, and I think I'll just end up posting that on the main channel. If he had been available at the right time, I would have done it on like this, but it just is what it is. I have to fit it all in somewhere. But that'll only be up for a day or two before I've already finished a new Comic Tropes episode, and I'm eager to share that with everyone. Right now, I'm giving early access to my Patreon supporters at $2 and above, so they already have access to it. But I'm going to put up the interview first, and then a day or two after that, I'll put up the new fully edited Comic Tropes. Tomorrow, I'm seeing orthopedics to potentially work on my shoulder. Maybe I'll finally get a fix. Maybe they'll just have to analyze it and give it a fix later. But that would be nice, because that will make my editing a little easier. I will be writing an episode tomorrow for Comic Tropes. I'm going to look at a Golden Age comic. And then I will... there is a new trash movie bonanza coming soon. We've recorded it. We've made the thumbnail. Jamie is hard at work editing it, so there'll be a new one of those. I would think within a week at this point. Within a week. Trying to think if there's anything else that I need to plug. Pretty soon I'll be putting up a poll on Patreon for this month's exclusive episode. So if you're on there, you get to vote and get an exclusive episode once a month, which is fun. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's everything I've got to plug. Got a lot going on. Thank you all for watching and for your comments and for your donations too. That very kind. Really nice to have given me some birthday wishes. I appreciate that. Oh, good. Thank you. I'm glad you got something out of that. There was a little bit to say, and you guys voted on it. Dr. Hormone is an interesting one, but I found one that's weird. I've definitely found one that stands out. Look, anything you look at Golden Age, I understand, art has evolved, the storytelling has evolved. So I'm not trying to pick on this so much the specific way a comic is presented. It's when they have a really wild idea that you're like, why did this seem like a good idea? Like the guy that has puppet powers, and he's called the puppeteer, but he goes around with like a big V on his suit. Like, what? I don't get it. All right. So anyway, yeah, that'll do it. Let's wrap it up with another double salute to all of you. And I'll just give you this advice. If you're looking for something to do to fill your time, how about you keep reading comics? All right, bye.